You're listening to the Fast Intentions Podcast. Now here are your hosts, Nathan and Todd.
Welcome into Fast Intentions. Nathan and I have returned from our trip abroad. Well, East Coast. We'll call it abroad. When you live in Nebraska, anything on the coast is abroad. But we had a good time. That'll be a big part of this episode. But how you feeling, Nathan? I know I'm still kind of tired from that trip. For me, whenever I spend a night in a hotel or at somebody else's house or whatever, I just don't sleep real well. And I didn't sleep well that whole trip. But, we changed hotels several times and ended up at a new place. And it usually takes about a day or two for me to actually get pretty comfortable with the hotel room, just because it's a different bed. It might be a different, strength or softness, pillows, the temperature. How about you? Do you sleep well going to a new place, or do you have a period of adjustment? Or
okay, so which question am I answering here? You asked like 4.
Well, you picked the one you want to answer.
Okay. I'm doing fine. First off, not too bad. I'm still. I don't want to say I'm still not tired from the trip. Like, I've adjusted, but I'm just tired from work now because it's kicking my butt again. Because I had like a double the first day back. Well, the first day back, I had a day off. I always take a day off after I fly because I did that once and I realized that's not fun. So I said I need an extra day off at home just to kind of relax and recuperate myself. But work, it was all right. I wasn't like too tired at work, but just getting back, got to work every day again, waking up. I'm pretty pooped, but I'm usually pretty pooped. Friday I just do like a day shift. So normally this is the night I kind of conk out early and do stuff. So, but then sometimes we have to do the podcast. I actually fell asleep right before we did this, so I'm kind of still waking myself up. But thank you for doing the lovely intro this time. But no, sleeping wise on the trip, I wasn't too bad. I got up like a few times during the night, but I was able to fall back asleep pretty quickly. But we'll get into what the trip was and how it worked. But for the most part, it was hard to we got back so late, and then we'd have to get up early. And so there wasn't a whole lot of sleep because I tried to get 8-9 hours. But
the bus was fairly comfortable, but the seats weren't like super spacious, and you had 2 per row, and then
I'm a big guy,
and then you're in there with all the other people, and they were all super nice, and we'll talk about some of them later. But so then you get back to the hotel, and then there's people. It's not like your house where there's minimal noise. There's people coming and going. You might hear the noise from the traffic. Or one morning, the guy was out collecting garbage at 4 a.m. And
see, I never heard that.
Oh, I heard that.
But I'm a heavy sleeper, so usually I sleep through a lot of things.
And then people, when they leave their rooms, they usually don't hold the door. They just kind of let them shut. And because they need security, those doors are heavier in the hotel. So when they close, they slam and they make a pretty good, sound, a good thud, or however you want to describe it. So that'll wake you up.
Sounds like you're an insomniac on this trip.
Well,
you heard everything.
Yeah, it didn't really affect me. There was a couple days where I just kind of felt like I was dragging a little bit, but it got a little coffee in me, and by the time we got out and walked around and did the things we were doing, and I was excited to do most of the activities. Well, not that the other activities that we didn't do were bad. We just had other things we wanted to do. And we could talk about that a little bit more. We'll talk about the trip kind of itself and then kind of expound off that. But yeah, it was a good time. I'm glad we did it. I'm really glad that we could, share it together and make some good memories. And we got on each other's nerves after a few days, but we're not used to sharing a hotel room, and our schedules are a little bit different, because I usually get up at like 5:45 and you'll tend to sleep till noon if you're able to. So,
well, not as much as I used to.
But you did good. You didn't oversleep. We didn't miss anything because you wouldn't get up. So there's a couple mornings where you skipped breakfast because you wanted to sleep a little bit later. But
that was a personal choice, not I slept through it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You did really well. So it was fun. We made a lot of great memories, and I have a ton of photos. Took a lot of videos, and
tell me about it. One thing I love about my dad, but God damn it, he takes a lot of fucking photos. You got to get a photo of this, take a photo of that.
I want to remember it. And he says, well, I'll just remember it. And I said, well, you might. I won't. So that's why I want the photos. Because I can always go back and erase the photos if I decide I don't need them. But I'd rather take them and then not need them than want them and not have them.
Well, there's a difference between taking the photos, but you're like, oh, I want this in. You got to put this in there, and I want this in there. And then we'll get to the Rocky thing where you were so peeved that I didn't have a vertical photo. We had to go back in line so you get your vertical photo. It's just like, Jesus Christ. That was the first thing. I'm like, I love my dad, but geez, he's weird. But
well, I just have a vision for my
your Facebook friends.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too.
Yeah, so I mean, random things bug me because. Like I know we talk. You would always make the comment like, "Oh, well, I don't want to baby you," because I said something about that. But you would baby me about some things, but then other things you're just like, "Oh, why didn't you do that?" And I go, "Oh, well, I didn't know I was supposed to." It's like you don't baby me on the stuff you probably should, and then sometimes you baby me on just like random things. I'm like, "Oh, Dad, I'm 23 years old," but that's just us getting on your nerves. Mm-hmm. We don't live together, so we bug each other.
We knew that was going to happen, though, because I even said to you when we were flying out, I said, how many days do you think it'll be before we started annoying each other?
You said that to Barb when you were putting my luggage in her car to go to the airport. We hadn't even driven anywhere yet. We're still at my house when you said it.
All right.
Because we knew it was going to come. So, but we did pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, good time. Like I said, we met a lot of nice people, and we'll...
And so, kind of, the intro getting kind of quick, but... Yes, most of the basis of this episode will probably be our trip because that's what we've been the last 2 weeks and been planning for a while. So that's why the podcast has not been as frequent. So
we did post a couple videos and things, updates on our Twitter page. So if you followed our Twitter page, you would have seen a couple videos that we posted and then a couple updates from the games that we did and stuff. So we tried to put some information out there.
I wasn't too keen on doing it sometimes. Because sometimes I was just tired and wanted to do something, and you were more keen to do it. So we didn't do it probably as often as we should have. Well, that's mostly my fault. But shout out our 7 Twitter followers. Hopefully we get up to 8 or something. So, but we'll see. Yeah. It's more enticing to do it when there's more people following it. So speaking of that, you should go follow at @FIntentionspod on Twitter. Make me post some more stuff on there.
There you go.
So there you go.
Nice. And you can also find us on Spotify and YouTube.
Yeah, may as well rate 5 stars on Spotify.
5-star on Spotify. We're up
subscribe.
to 7 of those, so we appreciate a few more.
Ooh, 7 5-star reviews, baby.
Subscribe and follow us on YouTube. Even if you listen on Spotify, still subscribe on YouTube. That'll help us out.
Comment, do some stuff.
Yeah.
We'll try and be more. We'll try and be more active. Well, I'll try and be more active because I think it falls on me.
Yeah, I mean, we're ever evolving. You know, we're trying to be better and do things better and clean some stuff up, and we're always learning. And so, feel free to comment. Any suggestions or
this
thoughts, positive, negative. We're all about it.
This is a hobby, so we like to do it for fun.
Yeah.
If you guys keep subscribing and following, maybe we could do this as a job. I'm just going to pin it on you guys. If you want me to do good content, maybe you should put in a little more effort. Nah, I'm joking. I'm joking.
It's not me, it's you.
Yeah, keep listening and have fun. But yeah, so I have a few notes, mostly basketball stuff because...
Well, let's get into that because as we record, it's Friday night, the 23rd, and NBA draft just happened last night.
Yes.
And your team was one of the ones that made a big move. And I know...
The day before draft day.
Yes, and I'm interested to get your opinion because I know when we talked previously, you were keen on trading Marcus Smart away, and that's what they ended up doing.
I was not keen on it.
That's what I said. You weren't keen.
Oh, I thought you said you were keen.
No, you weren't.
Well, yes, I was not keen on Marcus Smart. Okay, but before we say that, if you're looking for draft coverage, I'm not the person to probably provide that because I don't know much about college basketball. So if you're looking for my opinion on the draft, I don't really have much. That's kind of where I am on that. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
I mean, you don't have to be specific about players, but I mean, we can talk about what we think teams needed to do and what they did do to address certain positions and stuff like that.
I agree, but I don't know much about it, and I wasn't following it really, so I'm not 100% sure.
Well, we'll just deal with what you have, and we'll go from there.
Well, I don't have much.
We don't claim to be NBA experts, especially me. I mean, I kind of follow on the periphery because I know you're a fan of it.
Well, we don't claim to be experts on anything. We have a hobby and we give our opinions. We're not newsbreakers. We're not professionals. I'm not One thing I tried to learn more about is like salary cap stuff.
Breaking news. We're not professionals.
We're not professionals. I don't
Film
know.
at 11.
Yeah, this is we never said that. This is episode 20, and we could go through the jersey numbers for number 20s.
We could.
Yes, maybe we should do that now.
Okay.
But anyways, what's the point? If we're 20 episodes in. If you ever figured out we're not experts yet, then you're obviously not listening to the first 19 episodes. So, but yes, before we get into the NBA draft that I knew nothing about, but I want to talk about mostly the offseason trades.
Tantalizing lead-in. People are just hanging.
I know Victor Wembanyama was a great first pick.
Telephones.
Okay, but we'll get into the free agency trade, and we'll also talk about the finals because I don't remember where we left off. Oh, I think Celtics were down 3-0, and I said there's a chance they could come back. And baby, they made it Game 7, they blew it. But besides that, all right, episode 20. Let us know. Maybe we should do like a Twitter poll. We could be like, who's the best number 20? You guys could vote every episode or something.
There you go.
If we have more than 7 people voting on it, though, that would be great. If you guys go and the @FIntentionspod on Twitter and go follow the Twitter page.
Can I vote?
Sure, do it on your main, though, not as the F Intentions.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes because we synced it up to ours. Sometimes I'll see Fast Intentions tweet on something, and I go, oh, I think that was supposed to be Mailman Todd tweeting that, not Fast Intentions. Because we are politically neutral on the podcast. Actually, that's not true. We make tons of comments, but we're supposed to be neutral as an organization.
Oh, we're pretty neutral.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Well, we try to stay neutral on opinion-wise, but we have our own personal beliefs that don't correlate to the news that we share because we're unbiased news people.
Well, I'll show you how unbiased we were. When going through New Hampshire, we stopped at Joe Biden rest area, and I used the bathroom there. And if we would have went to the Donald Trump rest area, I would have used the bathroom there.
I would have taken a dump at that one. I would have just done a number 1 at Joe Biden because he's number 1.
Well,
no, I'm joking.
That's
that was a good one though, wasn't it?
So yeah, that was great.
Yeah, but no, yeah, that was kind of funny because some of the comments on the bus were kind of funny.
Yeah.
Okay, but number 20s, probably I think I know what would win the Twitter poll. Barry Sanders for the Detroit Lions running back. 10-time Pro Bowl. It even says all his stats here. We're not going to go through all that, though. Ray Allen's number 2. Boston Celtics great before he was a piece of crap and went to go join the Miami Heat, yes. Ed Reed.
Good one.
Brian Dawkins.
2 safeties, 2 really good safeties.
Frank Robinson.
Third baseman from the Orioles.
Yes.
Hall of Famer.
14-time All-Star. He has a lot of stats.
We saw his plaque.
He also won the Triple Crown. We also saw this person's plaque, Mike Schmidt, in Philadelphia.
And he had a statue out front of the ballpark.
I have a photo of it somewhere.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe tweet that out.
Uh-oh.
Mark that down. What you got to tweet out.
Fuck. Stop making me...
I always put him on blast to tweet things, and he never does it.
Stop giving me more fucking homework.
That's what you get for falling asleep before the show.
Me and Johanna were cuddling on the bed, bro.
Oh.
Mike Schmidt statue. Hopefully I remember that. Because I think there was one, the last podcast, I didn't write down. I was like, fuck, what the hell am I supposed to tweet out? Mm-hmm. Because you get impatient, then you just go and do it. And I don't like you when you post stuff without my permission. Lou Brock.
Cardinals. Legend.
Manu Ginobili. There's a lot of number 20s the more I look at this. Don Sutton's on here.
Good pitcher.
Rondé Barber.
Another defensive back.
Gary Payne for Miami, I guess.
The glove.
I don't know if he wore it.
Known for his defense?
Yes. I don't know who this is. Tony Stewart, NASCAR
driver, yeah. He drove the Home Depot car when he started out.
I don't know who this guy is in hockey, but he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, so shout him out. I don't know who these people are.
I can't pronounce the name. Must be a foreign player.
Yes. Josh Donaldson's on here.
I know he's not going to win the vote.
Allen Houston, 2-time NBA All-Star. Jorge Posada.
Oh.
I didn't read that.
Catcher? Throwback.
Yes. Gordon Hayward's on here. Shout out my man Gordon Hayward. Kevin Youkilis. I love me some Kevin Youkilis as a Red Sox fan. Okay. I went through that.
That's once you start saying that's about time to cut off the list.
That's when I scroll through to try and find someone else important. Yeah. But no, probably Barry Sanders, I guess. But there's some good ones in there.
Yeah, I kind of taken the bowl and said we're going to call this Buckley in baseball because there's going to be a lot of baseball because that's what we saw. And
He's just decided this. He hasn't asked me.
Yes, I've
But that's okay.
usurped this one. And then Jay Buckley Tours was the company that we went through. So
Okay. Well,
so let's get to your thoughts on basketball in general.
okay. So
And
like I
some of
said,
the stuff that went down this week in regards to the NBA draft.
okay. Well, not much about the NBA draft, more of the NBA offseason.
Okay.
But first, let's give our credit where credit's due. The Denver Nuggets beat the Miami Heat in 5 games.
Yeah, we got out. What game were we at that night?
The goddamn Boston game that got rained out.
The Rockies in Boston, and it started raining in the bottom of the 9th?
Top of the 10th.
10th.
Because they blew it.
The Red Sox pitcher could not get anybody out, and so it started raining pretty good.
Can't spoil the baseball games yet.
Jay Buckley said, if they pull the tarp, we're leaving. And so I told Nathan, I said, if he walks this guy or this guy gets on, they're going to pull the tarp. Well, he walked the guy. They pulled the tarp, and we were out of there.
What a genius.
So
we were watching on the bus.
But anyway, we were watching on the bus on Nathan's phone. There was like 10 seconds left. And then I believe it was the Lairs, a couple from Colorado that were sitting up towards the front of the bus. They all of a sudden yell out, "The Nuggets won the championship!" And I go, "Oh, their phone must be like 10 seconds ahead of ours."
Well, I think it was pretty much secured.
Yeah.
Because they're up 4 and they're shooting free throws.
But we were waiting for it to finally get over. But so, yeah, there were some people from Colorado on the trip. And so they yelled that out in the bus. So that's kind of, I mean, we knew it was going to happen, but the time hadn't expired yet. But apparently the Lairs had
no, they just declared victory.
So
yeah, shout out the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Still kind of
Sister Grace is happy about that.
Yeah, still kind of bitter about that, but I got over it pretty quick. Now it's the off season, so I don't care anymore. But I was still mad about the Celtics losing because they came back all that way just to lose. But you shouldn't get down 3-0 in the series. That's just kind of unless you're the Boston Red Sox against the Yankees in the ALCS. That's the only time you could do it. Or in hockey, because I think that's happened like 6 times in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, shout out the Nuggets. They were one of the best teams all year in the West, number 1 most of the year. And then they just went through and dominated the playoffs. So they're the best team. Jokic is probably the best player in the league. Not probably, he is. Or it's him and Giannis, I think, like the two. You could pick or choose. So, but I think you kind of got to just give it to Jokic now because he's the Finals MVP. Probably could have won back to back to back, but Embiid had a good year. But he still can't get out of the second round. So poor Joel Embiid. I love Joel Embiid. Too bad he's a 76er because it just makes me hate him because Sixer fans are annoying. Hello, Sixers fans listening. I'm talking about you. Or just your Twitter people.
Oh, 76 of you.
No, they have a lot of fans. But then let's get into the NBA offseason. Exciting stuff going on. The first big thing that happened. Do you know what the first big trade that happened was? As I burp.
Louisiana Purchase?
Okay, well, I meant like NBA in this year, not like United States trade.
I do not.
Is that a trade or is that just a?
That was a transaction.
That was a free agency signing.
We actually paid money for that.
Yeah, or that was the sign-in trade.
That was the Shaquille O'Neal of territory that we got back then.
We got a big old territory. No, it was Bradley Beal getting traded from the Wizards to go to the Phoenix Suns.
The Wizards have made a few moves this offseason.
You're a big Bradley Beal fan?
No.
He's a pretty good player.
Mm-hmm.
He led the league in scoring like 3 years ago.
Yeah, he's...
It kind of hurt. He wanted to play with the Wizards and do something, but they don't got anything going on over there, really. They made a few... What trade am I thinking about that was a good trade, but I can't remember what it was now. Because they ended up with Kyle Kuzma and all those guys. But whatever it was.
Some of the Lakers?
They had... I think so. But
Is that Anthony Davis? Was he?
No, but he played for New Orleans.
Oh.
So I can't think of what. Oh, the Russell Westbrook trade.
Oh, okay.
Russell Westbrook, of course. Good old Russell Westbrook, free agent now. Yes, he was with the Wizards when they made that big deal. So they got a lot of assets in. So they were kind of fun to watch. People maybe thought they could be like a sneaky playoff team, but they haven't really turned into that. And so they just decided they're going to blow it up because Bradley Beal doesn't fit their timeline. And now they're completely blowing it up because we'll get to another trade they did later. But they traded him to the Phoenix Suns, the good old Phoenix Suns. People thought maybe they'd be title contenders, but they all got hurt. Like I said, you knew Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, one of them was going to get hurt, They traded Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, multiple second-round picks, and multiple pick swaps. So it's like 6 years to swapping picks. And now it's for Bradley Beal, Jordan Goodwin, and Isaiah Todd. You could ignore Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd. Those are probably just filler. Bradley Beal is the main thing. So I like Bradley Beal. Now he's teaming up with Devin Booker, who could play forward and be a guard, and Kevin Durant, who's also a forward that can handle the ball like a guard. So they have Beal. They have, who the hell did I just say? Booker, Durant, and DeAndre Ayton. And that's pretty much it.
Nobody else.
Yes. So the thing I said about when they made the trade, the reason why I picked Denver against them when a lot of people didn't, hey, shout out me, I picked Denver, and they ended up winning the title. But the reason.
Insert eye roll.
The reason is they didn't have a whole lot of depth. It was just those three. And then you kind of knew with the injury history that maybe something could potentially happen. You don't want to wish injury on anyone, especially someone like Chris Paul, who's one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game and is trying to win a championship. But you just kind of felt like that may have been a possibility. And unfortunately, it ended up being it. And so Chris Paul being really old, making like $40 million, they shipped him out. And so I was hoping they could kind of make some moves just to get some more depth and to help out. Because you got KD and Devin Booker. Those two are plenty of them themselves.
All-stars.
So now you got another guy in Bradley Beal. But now you have just those four guys. You don't really have much else. So that always kind of concerns me. And now you got so much money tied into all those guys. So I don't know how. Like I said, I'm not a big cap guy. So I don't know how they're going to add more depth and make that team more all around.
They'll probably get a couple guys on the veterans minimum or whatever.
Yes,
they want to try to win something.
A lot of ring chasers. There's usually those. That's what the Lakers have been doing for so many years.
A lot of young guys.
So yes. So we'll have to see how that fills out. So I'm not 100%.
Do you know how many picks the Phoenix Suns had last night?
The Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, you know how many players they selected last night?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Like I said, I did not watch the draft.
Okay.
So, like I said, you're not going to get much draft coverage from me. So, we'll have to see how that goes out. Because obviously the Suns are going for a championship. So, if they don't win the championship, well, that's kind of how you grade that. The next trade was the Boston Celtics trade, which is probably what you want to hear about. Are you looking at the Suns draft picks?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Oh, there you go. So, this was a 3-team trade. I was at the College World Series when this was going on. Because they had a deal with the Clippers where they traded Malcolm Brogdon to the Clippers. They were the third team for all of this to go down. But then apparently the Clippers couldn't get a doctor over to Malcolm Brogdon in time because he was hurt during the playoffs and they couldn't do like a physical with him. And so they backed out. I don't think they backed out, but Boston wanted to get it done because Porzingis had a player option due at midnight. He had to opt into his $30 million deal. And so if they couldn't do it by then and he opted out, he'd be a free agent or they'd have to extend it. So Brad Stevens said, screw the Clippers. We're just going to keep trying to get this deal working. And so they threw in the Memphis Grizzlies. So what ended up being the deal, the Celtics got Kristaps Porzingis and 2 first-round picks. I believe both were from the Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies gave us 2 first-round picks. Shout out them. The Wizards got Tyus Jones from Memphis. Very good point guard. Danilo Gallinari, who was hurt all year, didn't play much for the Celtics. And Mike Muscala, who we traded for at the trade deadline, and he didn't play much. Oh. And they got a second-round pick from somebody, maybe us, maybe the Grizzlies, I'm not sure. And then the unfortunate part, the Grizzlies got Marcus Smart, who, as you know, Dad, who's my favorite Celtics player? Or who was my favorite Celtics player? Marcus Smart. It was really sad. I remember I was sitting here on the computer last night because they were, the deal fell apart, now they're reworking it. And so I'm like, oh, shit. And then they said, the Celtics they're still calling. They're going to try and get it done. I'm like, hey, let's go. And then they said, they got the Porzingis deal done. I said, let's go, baby. We got rid of Brogdon, who was considered a luxury because we had Marcus Smart, Derek White, and him. He's kind of got an injury history, so he won 6th man of the year. I go, well, that's a good opportunity to get rid of him while he's so high on him. And then you bring in a guy like Porzingis, who, by the way, I still think is a good trade for Boston. As much as it hurt me and hurt my soul, and how much a tear went down my cheek, I think it's still a good trade because he's a big guy who can actually like score for himself. Robert Williams is a great defender, but he gets hurt a lot too. No, Robert Williams, not Robin Williams.
Oh, my bad.
Rest in peace, Robin Williams.
By the way, the Phoenix Suns had 1 pick yesterday.
Who'd they take?
They took Tumani Kamara, a forward out of Dayton, with the 52nd overall pick.
Oh, 52nd?
So they didn't have a first rounder.
Yeah, so I wasn't watching at that point either. So, As much as I tried to watch and not know who anyone was. And what was the point I was making? He was a luxury. Yeah, Porzingis. He's a good post player. He could defend the pick and roll, and he could space the floor and shoot threes. So that's exactly. He could, like Brad Stevens said, he could play with Al Horford. He can play with Robert Williams. He'll be great. And so, give a luxury like Brogdon. We still have Marcus Smart and Derek White, who are great defenders and can play make for us. But unfortunately, they traded Marcus Smart, which they said was very hard to do, and it hurt my heart because he's my favorite player. Like I said, there's a luxury at guard, so I think in the end it'll be okay. But he's a guy, he's considered the heart and soul. He hustled on every play. He was the vocal leader. He loved Boston. He did so much stuff for the community. And he if you think of Celtics basketball and a player, Marcus Smart was that guy. And he was so committed to it. Even like in his Twitter bio, where it says like location, he put greatest city in USA and he had a little shamrock because he loved Boston so much. And there was reports that he was shocked by the trade because he wanted to stay in Boston and he wanted to retire there. So it just really sucks because.
Well, they said Memphis really wanted him to be part of their team. Because he could fill in why John Morant was suspended, and he's a veteran presence, and he could just be a leader and somebody that his team could look up to as far as work ethic, and has a championship pedigree that they can all learn from. And so they said Memphis really, because Memphis jumped in to help make the trade, facilitate the trade, because it started out, like you said, as a 3-team deal, and they tried to do it as a 2-team deal and wasn't having, so then they had to bring somebody else back in. But then they said Boston reluctantly let Marcus Smart go, but that's because they had faith in Derek White evolving and becoming more of that kind of player.
Okay, well, let me say, Derek White is a lot like Marcus Smart. He's just not as loud or vocal. Marcus Smart's a loud guy. He'll talk shit.
Marcus Smart's like a pain in the ass to play against. He's going to get in your face, and you see him involved. He reminds me a little bit like Dennis Rodman. He just kind of gets involved in some muck up. He tries to muck up the game a little bit. I mean, he's a great shooter, great player, but
I wouldn't say great shooter.
He'll get it. Well, when he's rolling, he can hit the threes.
When he is, but sometimes he thinks he is.
He likes to get in there, get under other teams, players' skin and get them agitated, and that's the kind of role he helps serve.
Yes. Well, as I was going to say.
Sorry.
Yes. Marcus Smart fits in that grit and grind Memphis style that they have. He's just going to be a perfect defender to go alongside John Morant. And then you still got like Desmond Bane. That's going to be a scary 5. And Jaren Jackson Jr., that's a really good defense. So I wouldn't want to mess with the Memphis Grizzlies this year. So it's very sad to see him go. One of my favorite players. And he, like I said, he kind of embodied what it meant to be a Celtic. So it stung a lot for Boston fans. But I think in the end, with Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, we still have Peyton Pritchard, who wants to leave Boston because he wants a bigger role eventually. Like he said, he's still committed, but he sees himself moving on eventually. But this is his opportunity to kind of grow into the role. So I think it ends up being a good trade, but I think Boston still needs to make more moves, which they said they are still looking to. They need maybe some wing depth besides Tatum and Brown. That's kind of all you got. And Sam Hauser, shout out Sam Hauser. And then maybe another point guard just to kind of help out. So I think in the end it was a good move. It's just sad to see someone like Marcus Smart go, because that's the guy you wanted to see stay with Boston his whole career and then retire there and eventually win the championship, because he was pretty much the big 3 with Tatum and Brown. As much shit as he got, which was ridiculous. If you see me on Twitter, I'm the biggest Marcus Smart defender, and I will continue to be so in Memphis. Well,
it's tough when you got that much money invested into a couple players. It's hard to keep a team together.
Well, let me say
long term, especially when you got more of the second tier and third tier guys that they're a little bit more expendable than the top tier guys where you're maxing out all your money. And of course, you want to try to keep those guys together as long as possible. I mean, at a certain point, you reach a point of no return, but the Celtics don't think they've reached that point yet.
Well, let me say, too, if you think that the money's tied up, it's going to be even more tied up when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown get their gigantic Supermax deals coming pretty soon.
Well, that's what I mean. So they're willing to eat that to try to keep those guys together, but then that means they have to make decisions on other guys.
Well, that's why I thought Malcolm Brogdon would be the extendable piece, because he's older. And like I say, he's kind of a luxury off the bench, because now you have those guys. But unfortunately, Marcus Smart, I think, was kind of what they needed to get the deal done. Yeah. So they had to get rid of him, which stinks, because out of the 3, I would have preferred him over the other two. But now Malcolm Brogdon was pretty much traded, and now he's still on the team. So I don't know if that's going to entice them to try and move him for a different guard, maybe, because I don't know how much Malcolm Brogdon is going to be there when he said, "You literally just traded me, and the only reason I'm still here is because that deal fell through." That's also kind of up in the air. So Brad's kind of talking like, "Oh, well, we got Derek and Malcolm Brogdon." But then they were just getting a shit ton of second-round picks last night. They kept trading down. So, as we saw at the trade deadline, remember, when it was like everyone was going for 5 second-round picks? Maybe he's going to use Brogdon and some of those picks to make another splash, potentially. Yeah. We'll have to see. And Grant Williams is still, he's a free agent, and so he's probably going to get a big deal. They could use him in a sign-and trade as salary, and they have some player exceptions to match money. So, we'll see what they do. They're not done, but it just sucks that Marcus Smart was the one to go, is all the point I'm saying. This is why I try not to have favorite players anymore. Mookie Betts and now Marcus Smart, man. It just breaks my heart every time. So, but in the end, I think it's a good deal for all teams. But it just sucked. Marcus Smart had to go. And Marcus Smart, if you're listening, I love you. Hopefully you'll come back to Boston. Tatum kept posting posts. He goes, until we link up again. He said it like 3 times.
Yeah, Marcus, if you're listening, hit us up on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Would you like to be an interview on Fast Extensions?
Shout out.
Okay, and then let's get to the last trade because I've been blabbing too much about the Celtics, which usually happens. The Golden State Warriors made a trade. Remember Chris Paul just got traded to the Wizards? Well, he's not with the Wizards no more. He's with the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors go for Chris Paul. They traded Jordan Poole, a 2030 first-round pick.
2030
first-round pick.
I can't even see that far.
And a 2027 second-rounder. That 2030 first-round pick may actually be pretty good. Because eventually all those Golden State guys are going to get old and leave, and then they're going to be shit. So hopefully...
there's a 6th grader right now that's looking pretty good for that pick.
That's there was a meme on Twitter when it's like the guy pointing at himself. They said some 6-year-old pointing at himself, and he goes, "Me?" He goes, "You traded for me?" So what... I think for the Wizards, this is a good trade. You get Jordan Poole, who's a young guy. People say he's Steph Curry-esque, but he's very inconsistent.
Yeah, that's a tough comparison.
Well, he plays like Steph Curry.
Okay.
And he can shoot the ball really well.
Steph Curry's brother doesn't even play like Steph Curry.
Yeah, but he come off the bench a lot, and he was kind of inconsistent with Golden State, especially. That's kind of like a piece. But now in Memphis, not in Memphis, what the hell? In Washington, there ain't going to be nobody. Jordan Poole can shoot fuck ton. He can shoot as much as he wants. Someone even say he could lead the league in scoring as much as he's going to shoot.
He'll be the new Russell Westbrook.
Well, Russell Westbrook he doesn't shoot. He facilitates. Westbrook's good with a bunch of scrubs. That's Westbrook's best. Westbrook.
Well, he didn't work with the Lakers because, like I said,
he didn't fit with them.
Him and LeBron like to have the ball in their hands and make something happen.
Yeah, and he needs shooters. That was just kind of I don't know what the hell they were thinking over there, thinking that would work. But he's another name. They'll figure it out. So poor Russell Westbrook got shit on. But yes, Jordan Poole, he's under contract for like 4 years. So to get 4 years of a player for like Chris Paul, who they're just going to waive anyways. So Jordan Poole's got a ton of potential. You think
they're going to waive Chris Paul? You don't think they'll keep him there in Golden State?
No, the Wizards were going to waive if they didn't do anything with him.
I'm sorry.
Because they don't need him there.
Yes.
They would probably waive him. So now you get a guy under 4 years who has the potential to be a really good player, I still think. He's just inconsistent. And you get a late first-round pick that could turn into something, and you got a second-rounder pretty much for nothing. And then Golden State got Chris Paul. So I don't really know how to think about this. Because Chris Paul's a veteran guy. He's a really good player. He's smart. He'll probably fit in well with that Golden State system.
Yeah, I just don't know what his role is going to be.
It's going to be him and Steph Curry. I know
he's going to be a point guard and facilitate, but I don't see that being a role or a position they necessarily need on that team.
No, I don't think so either.
So it'll be interesting to see how they work.
I think they needed more pieces around the main guys.
Well, because you're thinking Steph, Clay, Chris Paul, Draymond is elected free agency,
but he'll probably resign.
Well, he's probably hoping for more.
And he also did post stuff and say, "Well, I deserve $100 million."
And then who they got in the middle right now?
Andrew Wiggins would be the 4, and then they still have I don't know if they have
because they traded away that big kid they drafted last year, didn't they?
Yeah, he's with the Pistons.
Yeah,
but he didn't really fit there.
No.
I'm not sure who they have expiring and who's reselling, still on the team. But yes, they need, because they kind of went youth. We have these young guys that can develop while we're still competing for championships, but that didn't really end up working out. So they kind of need more pieces to plug in. Like I said, Chris Paul's a savvy player and he's good, but does he really fit the mold? No. Why are you laughing? Did I say something
You
funny?
made me think of my cousin Vinny when he's in the courtroom and he says, The two Utes? He says, "Excuse me, Judge, the two youths."
Yeah.
So
Did I say it wrong?
no, you just said it really fast. So it made me just think of that part of my cousin Vinny.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes because Chris Paul's making like $30 million. So does that give him a lot of room to do anything else?
I think
no.
Rework his deal or try to.
Okay, so
I'm sure they talked to his agent before the deal was made and say, "We like to trade for you, but you have to work with us on your cap number."
So Draymond Green opted out. They still have Gary Payton
because if
second.
CP3 wants to win a championship, I would say that's his best scenario is being in Golden State.
Well, yeah, I hope Chris Paul. Well, I don't want to. I would like to see Chris Paul win a title, but I don't want to see Golden State win another one.
Yeah.
So they have Klay Thompson making $43 million. They have Steph Curry making $51 million. They have Andrew Wiggins making $24 million. Draymond Green was going to have to rework a deal. He was set to make $27 million, but he backed out. But now you got $30 million ass Chris Paul, but Jordan Poole's making $28 million. So he's making $28 million, $30 million, $33 million, and $35 million. Jordan Poole is. They signed to a big ass deal. So the Wizards got that to look forward to.
These teams afford these numbers.
But now they have a new CBA going on, and that's going to make things even worse.
CP3 for the CBA.
Yes. So, and Dave Vincenzo could opt in to his player option. I don't know if he did. They still have Kevon Looney, like I said, Gary Payne, and then they have team options on like young guys like Kuminga. So they still have pieces, but they need something else because, like I said, Chris Paul is just kind of there now. And I mean, like he's a really good player, greatest player of all time. But does he like move the needle that much? And how will you like fit in? It doesn't. First, they need to get Draymond Green back too, because Draymond Green's, as much as you hate to play him, he's a good player you want on your team because he's a piece of shit. Yeah, you like him when he's on your team, and you hate him when you're playing him. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I love watching him play, except when he plays Boston, he's annoying. So that's a good trade for the Wizards. Golden State Warriors, we'll see. Yeah, always stomps on you. Yeah. So shout out Draymond Green if you want to be on the podcast too. Let us know.
Yeah,
he has his own.
You and Marcus Smart could come on together.
I don't know if they. Well, they're probably friends. Draymond Green has his own podcast, the Draymond Green Show. Yes, we'll get on his. Okay, well that's all the basketball stuff I had.
Okay.
So.
Well, thank you, NBA reporter Nathan, for that report.
Sad to see Marcus Smart go. I'm gonna say it again.
Should we have a moment of silence for Marcus?
Well, he didn't die, so let's not do that.
Okay.
He'll succeed over in Memphis. A good place for him to go. He'll fit in right. He'll fit right in.
Well, this is I don't have anything outside of the Nuggets in football or anything, so I'm ready to delve in some baseball. I'm going to start with college baseball though, since we're here. We're here originating from the home of the College World Series,
Omaha.
Yeah, I got out to my first game ever at the Chuck, as they call it.
Stupid.
Went Sunday and saw Tennessee and Stanford. It turned out to be a nice game. And I know you attended the other day with a buddy. But did you watch the game last night? Did you see any of that game?
I was working. I cannot.
Well, it was LSU and Wake Forest were playing to get to the championship round.
I heard it was a really good game.
Yeah, LSU had won the night before, forcing another game.
Yeah.
Because Florida had skated through, got through undefeated, and they're just waiting in the winner's bracket. So, great game last night. Wake Forest's Rhett Lauder pitched against LSU's Paul Skeens, or I think that's how you say it, Skeens. And right now, Paul's projected to be like a top 2 pick in the MLB draft here next month.
Was he the one that like throws like 102?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him.
But it was a great game. I caught bits and pieces of it.
It was nothing, right?
It was 0-0 until the 11th. So great pitching matchup. Everybody they brought out of the bullpen pitched really good. So they get to the 11th, and Cruz, who's like the other potential top 2 pick in MLB draft. I think his first name's Paul. Maybe not. I may think of the longest yard, but it's Dylan Cruz. I'm sorry, Dylan Cruz gets on base. So Wake Forest decides to go to their closer. Camden Manassi, I think his name is, and he's been lights out the whole College World Series.
He's not doing these guys much justice.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm joking.
So LSU's Tommy White comes up, and I can't remember how many outs there were. I think possibly one, because I think there was a failed bunt attempt, if I remember correctly. But don't hold me to it.
All right, I won't.
So they're there, they're talking up the scenarios, and just been a great game. Well, Manassi lines up, first pitch, he kind of hangs the pitch. Tommy White swings, and I'm thinking to myself, as he's, on the index, or probably don't swing at the first pitch. Kind of maybe put the pressure on the Wake Forest pitcher and make him get ahead of you in the count or something. But Tommy went up there looking for a fastball. He didn't get a fastball, but I think he got like a hanging slider or something. But it was about shoulder height. He swung, and when the ball hit the bat, you knew it had a chance. And based by the Manasseh's reaction, you knew he thought it could be trouble. Well, it went out. It went like 7 rows deep in left field. Walk-off homer for LSU. Just a tremendous game. I mean, it was just, scoreless games usually aren't fun to watch, but just, the intensity of that just ramped up every inning as it went by, scoreless. And props to Tommy, because he walked up to Manasseh and the Wake Forest catcher were talking, and, they shook hands and kind of hugged each other and congratulated each other on a great season and what have you. So just a wonderful game. And I know we were out somewhere and Barb was distracted. She kept coming in. What's going on? So she was kind of more into it than I was. So it was funny. And as soon as the 11th inning, bottom 11th started, she went in the other room to help her aunt with something. And first pitch, I clapped my hands. Woo! She goes, what happened? I go, it's over. First pitch, 2-run homer. So she came out to see what was going on. She goes, it's over? And I go, yep. The guy hit the first pitch he saw out of the park. So just a great college game and a great atmosphere at the College World Series. And now they have a championship round, which will be best of 3, which starts tomorrow. So, and it's always exciting for LSU to be in the finals because they travel well. A lot of their fans come up here and they spend a lot of money here in Omaha. And matter of fact, just this week they set the record for the most Jell-O shots sold. I think it was
at Rocco's.
At Rocco's Pizza. So they like to party, man. So, any thoughts on your day at the College World Series or any of that game? I mean, I know you just said you didn't see it, but did you read anything about it or see any highlights or anything on it?
I heard people talk about it. Okay. I kind of went to bed and then I went to work today.
Yes.
So I haven't seen it. I saw it 0-0. And I was rooting for Wake Forest because they hadn't made it since like 55. And I don't really care for LSU or Florida.
Well, that's the only drawback. It's an all SEC final, so you got to hear about how great the SEC is again. But
no, I don't really care for either teams. I want Oral Roberts because they're in the Summit League. That's where Omaha plays. Shout out Omaha, who sucks. And then
Omaha! I
already made that.
Oh, thanks, Peyton Manning.
I
appreciate it.
I already made that reference.
Oh, he was here earlier?
No. Yeah, yeah, I have an interview with him. We'll just edit that in.
Man, we got
right
some
now.
good interviews coming
I
up.
know,
Marcus
right?
Smart, Draymond Green, Peyton
Manning.
Manning.
Woo, baby.
We got to have
Put
more
your
than,
hand down.
We got to have more than
Put your hand
followers on Twitter. I have a question.
Oh, do you?
No, I'm teasing.
Oh, okay. So I was rooting for Oral Roberts or Wake Forest. So, of course, the teams I root for didn't win.
Well, I'm kind of a hypocrite because I was rooting for Tennessee. So.
Well, I saw Florida and I saw Florida and TCU. I saw Florida clinch to go, and then that was a pretty good game too. It was hot. TCU came back and tied it, and then Florida, they hit infield singles what put them ahead. Then they made that great catch in center field because I thought it was going to get out, and then that guy made that catch against the wall to send him to the College World Series. That was pretty cool. But I kept score, so it was fun.
Yeah, I was crossing paths with Jed from Big Red Junkies at work, and he told me, we walked in the door and he told me how the game ended. And I was like, oh, man, that's a tough way for it to end.
Yeah, but I don't really care. TCU fans are kind of annoying doing new cheers. But the Horn Flower came and sat next to us, the mascot.
Oh, that was nice.
Well, he sat behind Tron.
No wonder
my friend Tron. Yeah. And then I go, Tron, you want a photo with him? He goes, nah, man. But that would have been a good meme if we took a photo with the Horn Frog. But you walked around and said hello to all the kids.
Listener Lisa would have been jealous. That's her little team she roots for.
Her little team. No, she's a Husker fan. She needs to stop with that TCU crap.
She claims the TCUs when she's here. I think just in baseball, though. Just baseball. Oh.
Hey, no sound effects.
Sorry, that musical interlude was provided by our sponsor.
We don't have a sponsor.
Bud Light. Did you see they're giving away $10,000 to people now to try to get them back on board? I don't really like beer, but I might start drinking some Bud Light just to make me some cash.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Okay, so was that your College World Series analysis?
Yeah, I just want to talk about that game because it was, it's just
I tried to watch as much as sorry, I cut you off. No, but I tried to watch as much as I can to College World Series. Most of the games were pretty good.
It's just one of those classic games, and you don't think of classic games where there's no scoring, but it was just, as I said, each inning went by, the intensity just ratcheted up because what they were playing for. Each team threw out their best pitcher. and they all delivered. I mean, they came through. The pitchers all came through.
The best regular season games are like 13-12. The best postseason games are 1-0. Well, especially when you care for the team and you're watching it, the best games are pitchers duels because they're super exciting.
I saw a game tonight where the team in the MLB, the team won 11-10. So,
was that the Reds game? Because they were down.
It might have been because
I have a shout out for the Reds later.
Well, their young star, is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, so don't talk about him.
Okay. Well, we won't talk about what you don't talk about when it's possibly happening. So.
What, there's a
foreshadowing, maybe a little bit. I don't know. We'll see.
What, a no hitter?
No, the other one.
Perfect game.
No, the other one for a hitter.
Oh, you could talk about that, can't you?
Oh, yeah, that young. I can't think of his name. What's the
Ellie De La Cruz
hit for a cycle tonight?
Yeah, I know. I was going to talk about that.
Oh, sorry. 15th ever game in the MLB. Hit for the cycle.
Oh, he's a beast. And the Reds have won 11 in a row. They want to win 12 in a row.
Wow.
So they went from shit to first place pretty quick.
Beast mode. Skittles, get on that guy.
Wow. Remember when beginning of the season I said the Reds aren't going to be doing nothing.
Taste the sensation. Isn't that Skittles?
That's Taste the Rainbow.
Oh, Taste the Rainbow. Who's the sensation?
I don't know.
Oh, no, it's Feel the Sensation. That's York Peppermint Patties. Hey, if you guys want to sponsor us, that would be happy.
Shut up.
Take you on, York.
All right, we still got more to talk about here.
Okay.
Let's get going.
All right.
What else you got on your little list over there?
Everything else is nuggets.
Oh, nuggets?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll save that for the end.
All right.
All right, let's go to the baseball trip.
All right.
Are we going to do like a long version, or is this going to be like a...
Well, we'll see.
How long have we been going?
This is going to be a long episode because if we're going to talk about all our stuff. I mean, we'll post some photos. From
People
the
don't
trip
care about
and
what we
stuff.
did.
Well, we'll just do a general overview. You start, and I'll just play off what you do.
Well, you're the one that's probably going to want to go through it in depth. I'll let you do it, and then I'll hop in when I feel like it.
I was excited because I got to cross off at least 3 things off my bucket list that I
never mind.
Wanted to do. So.
Okay, let me do it because that didn't take very long. Yeah, you're going to be bouncing all over the place. Okay, so what we did.
Well, I was going to do it day by day, but okay.
Day by day, we get better and better.
Team that can't beat me won't be beat.
Okay. So, yes, what we did, we went on a baseball tour. It's called J. Buckley Baseball Tours. We're going to shout them out and give them credit, even though they're not paying us to do so.
They should.
Shout out my man, Jay Buckley.
Yeah.
But what it is, it's a baseball group. We had to fly out to Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And we met up at a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they take you on a bus, right? A nice, normal stagecoach.
That's why they call it a bus tour.
Yes, a bus tour. So you get on this damn bus, and you go to a different...
With a bunch of strangers.
Yes, with a bunch of strangers.
You don't know. The only one I knew was you.
Yes, but you're best friends with all of them now.
Yeah, we're all buddies.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that.
Okay, yeah. So what they do is they take you from the hotel, they take you to a city. The first city ended up being Philadelphia. And what you do is you see a game there. And then we go to another city, we see another game. And then if we get there early enough, you get to do some like free time. They'll take you somewhere so you can go explore a little bit.
Well, yeah.
That's the basis of it.
Yeah, they set up the schedule based on the games. But what's nice is they have other activities scheduled. So there's things to do. There's, they have places you can go eat or do sightseeing. But the really nice thing is you're not technically beholden to do those activities. If you want to go off and do your own thing, which Nathan and I did several times, they have no problem with that. And they just expect you to find your way some point back to the ballpark that night to meet up with the bus to get to the next hotel.
Yes, you just had to be, after the game, we like, we got to get on the bus because we got to drive 90 miles somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the premise. So they were pretty cool with it.
Yeah, and they had stops planned for food or rest areas. And I mean, they had everything really laid out, as far as activities and time-wise and everything.
Yeah, so for the price we spent, I mean, it was a lot of money saving up for me. But being able to go, they get you all the tickets to the games, they take you everywhere, they give you breakfast, they give you a hotel, and they do all that stuff for you. It just makes it so much more convenient. It's just a nice way to do it, especially when you're like me and you're trying to get all the baseball parks marked off your map.
Yeah. And
so it helps me kind of get a lot of them off at a time. Even though when I first did it like 6 years ago, we went on the East Coast, but I didn't go with my papa here. And so he wanted to go on the East Coast, so we did that again. So I saw a lot of ballparks I saw before. Okay, but now now that we get the premise, we can go day by day if you would like to.
Yeah.
So the first day was Philadelphia. So we drove all the way to Philadelphia. I don't know how long it was. I don't think it was that long.
It was a couple hours, I think.
It wasn't that long. We got there like noon because they dropped us off at the Reading Terminal Market. I don't know if any Philadelphia people are from. I don't know if there's any Philadelphia people here. Even though I did call you guys crappy earlier, talking about the 76ers. But it's like a big food market. You go in. There's a lot of places you can go eat. And so I got my cheesesteak, which I kind of wanted to get.
I took some video of the place. I don't know if we'll post it, but
well, you could post a photo probably of everything we talked about.
Yeah, but I end up there's a Amish community in Philadelphia, and some of the Amish and what was the other?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I want to say Quakers, but it wasn't. It was Amish and
friends, Amish and friends,
like a different.
I know, I'm joking.
I can't think. But anyway, they have restaurants and stuff in there, and I ended up at a place called the Dutch Kitchen, and I had something called a bacon jam sandwich, which was basically a bacon sandwich on egg, but they had a jam on there with it, which was of course made out of bacon. And it was probably the best thing I had the whole trip. It was delicious. And I started off with a lot of calories right off the bat. But it was very good. I mean, you could have had anything you wanted in there. Pastries, Philly sandwiches. They had a meat counter, desserts of all kinds.
Oh, yeah. There's so
fish,
much shit.
Chinese, I think, donuts. Just anything you could imagine. It was kind of like what was the name of that market we went to in New York last year? It was a lot like that.
In New York? Oh,
yeah.
You mean in Boston?
No, it was in New York. Or was it Boston? Was it Boston?
The Quincy Market in
Boston?
Quincy
Market. Yeah, it's a lot. Oh, sorry. It was a lot like Quincy Market in Boston where they just have all kinds of eateries and stuff in there. And it was good.
So, yes. And then what the next thing was, we're going to get on a bus and we're going to go to the Independence Mall where they had like the Liberty Bell and stuff like that. But we took a detour because my dad wanted to go do something. He wanted to go, like we were talking about.
When we saw the trip was partly Philadelphia, the first thing I mentioned was possibly doing this.
Yes.
And Nathan was all about it, which, I'm happy for because he's probably the most adventurous of all my kids. So.
Well, my sisters are adventurous, but they also like it all planned out.
Yes.
If you plan it out, they're down. But like, if it's not in the itinerary, they're kind of less
They're not
likely.
off the cuff people.
But it depends, because like you really wanted to go to Boston College, which I was in Boston. This is a different trip. In Boston, you really wanted to go there.
Well, we like to go see.
I was down, but I was kind of scared because you driving in the city was kind of scary in New York and Boston, and so I was like, "Fuck, we got to go detour." I just want to get back to the hotel.
Well, that wasn't a populated area though, but
yes, but in New York it was. That was scary.
Yeah, that was our thing though. We'd like to try to go see college football stadiums if we're near them when we're out.
Yes. So, but anyways, yeah, we wanted to go see Dad wanted to go see the Rocky statue, and I would like to see it too.
Well, the Rocky statue was part, but that's not what I really wanted.
Well, you just want to run up the damn steps.
I want the Philadelphia Museum of Art, where they call them the Rocky Steps, where the first Rocky he's training and he runs up those steps.
Yes.
And it's a big bucket list for a lot of people. I mean, I have a book where some guy spent a year there just taking photos and interviewing people. So Nathan did it. Props to Nathan. Made it all the way up. No problems. We took turns filming each other. I even gave a little bit of theme song for Nathan while he did his. And we both did it. And then they had impressions of his footprints up there where the statue used to be. And the statue's now moved down below the museum stairs and off to the right. But when we got up there was busloads of people just stopping and getting off and taking pictures.
There's a guy that parked his car right in front of the statue and blocked traffic and went up there, took a photo, and got back in his car.
Yeah.
Because people are honking. He goes, "Hey, I'm out of the car. I'm over here."
Yeah. They should see my flashes are on or whatever. But big bucket list item. We knocked it off the first day. Happy to do it. We just walked over there and then we caught a really cheap bus back for like $2.
Yeah, so. Shout out the weird crosswalk guy that told us about that bus. It was like $1. It'll just take you to a bunch of different landmarks in Philadelphia.
Yeah, so
because we walked like a mile and a half over there.
It was a ways, but so that was really cool. I was really happy to do that. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I see other people doing it, and I'm just like, oh, that'd be so great. And then we finally got to do it. And then I know Nathan said something about the photos earlier, but I did the Rocky pose at the top of the stairs with my arms, and he would go, "Here, what do you think?" And I didn't quite do it right, so he indulged me and retook the picture a couple times. And
I have 25 photos of Dad posing.
If you follow me on Facebook, I did post it as my cover photo at one point. But yeah. We use Nathan's camera a lot, our phone a lot, because his camera takes a lot better pictures, and he still has a bunch of the pictures from the trip that I haven't seen yet. So I have to egg him to get those to me. But so okay,
well, it takes so much too. I don't know exactly what you want.
So eventually, we got back to the bus, met up with the group. We got on the bus, pulled into Citizens Bank Park.
Oh, hold on. Do you want to talk about the Liberty Bell? We saw the Liberty Bell.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that was that day, wasn't it?
Because they took a bus down there, but we took the detour to Rocky, and then we went back. So we waited like an hour to go see the Liberty Bell because it was a long line.
Which was really cool. I mean, and I will just say, you know the history of this bell and a lot of historical things in Boston and up at East Coast.
But it was a bell.
But it's really hard to fathom it and appreciate it in the moment. It's something I've always wanted to see. But there was and no offense to them, but they had a bunch of school classes there with their teachers. And
before you say this, I got to say the biggest on any trip, the greatest
bugaboo.
The greatest rivalry is dad versus the school children. Oh. Every time there's kids somewhere, he goes, "Oh, thank God we were there before the kids showed up." Oh shit, there's a bunch of kids here. Dad hates kids.
Well, I don't hate kids, but
you don't like them when you're trying to indulge in your history because they run around and they're loud, and you like to be there and to enjoy it, and then they tick you off.
I don't have any problem with kids. They just don't have manners. Like if you're trying to take a photo of something and you step back, well, they just think, "Oh, well, there's nobody there," so they just run and cut in front of you, or they cut in line, or they go around you, or stuff. So it's really hard to get photos of stuff that you really want to get photos of because they're just all over the place, or video because you hear them all in the background. But anyway, but my real problem with this is they were grade school kids, so they were talking to, but I don't think they are at the age where they can really appreciate what they're seeing. I think maybe when they're in junior high and they've studied it a few more years and know a little bit more about the country and have lived life a little bit more, that would be the time to take them to see the Liberty Bell. But anyway, I digress.
See, I love my dad, but this is one thing that I don't even care that much, but I feel like he's too bothersome with what other people are doing. I go, Dad, just don't stop paying attention to the school children and about them indulging in history. I go, just enjoy it yourself.
It's about respect. And if I see somebody trying to take a photo or a video of something, I'll wait or step back or go around them. I mean, and so I just like to see people return that respect or that courtesy when I'm trying to do the same thing. And kids they have no sense of any of that stuff going on. So
okay, but yes, we waited an hour to go see the Liberty Bell,
and then we came out when we came out the back, you're right by Independence Hall where the Declaration was signed,
which you can't get into unless you're.
Well, you have to sign up for a tour.
Yeah, unless you sneak in like one of our buddies on the trip.
Yeah.
And then
But it was really cool to see that place. I mean, because you hear about the place where the Declaration of Independence was signed, and it's really just couple of 100 years ago, it's hard to believe those places still exist, and they're actually there. So
yeah, and then we went to Betsy Ross's house just to look at it.
Yeah, I saw
and then
that.
When we passed by, we saw where Ben Franklin was buried.
Yeah.
His grave was right near the fence, so I just stuck my phone in the think.
Yeah, and they have a little plaque right there on the brick facade. It was on the other side that we didn't see as we saw it coming back because it was on the other side, but it says Ben Franklin, and you can kind of read on the marble. It's like a concrete tomb with like marble over the top of it, and it has his name on it.
Yeah, and so you had to pay to get in there, but I think we kind of saw what we wanted to.
Well,
based off the side there.
It's all a brick wall until you get to where Ben Franklin is, and then it's like a wrought iron fence. So they're cognizant of people wanting to see that spot, and
I would say fuck it, put a brick wall and make them pay.
That final resting place. So
you need some Ben Franklin.
Maybe you'd be hit by lightning.
I was trying to set up my joke.
I know. I beat you to it.
No, I got to say, you got to give me some Ben Franklins to go see Ben Franklin.
Oh.
Ooh, get it? Okay.
Yeah, that soundboard isn't hooked up. We could have boop, boop.
Well, I've been gone. I haven't had time to deal with it.
It's been sitting here for a long time.
Well, I know.
More than 2 weeks.
It's okay. Because you just want to keep adding sound effects.
Yep. So we saw a lot of history in Philadelphia, which I was very appreciative of and was happy to take. And technically that, that seeing that stuff was bucket list stuff to me too, but yes. Yeah, I just wish I could have had more time to kind of appreciate and take it in because you're just filing through there and there's, like Nathan said, there's just a big line. So as you go, your turn. And if you want to try to get a photo, you better snap it real quick because I was trying to take one and some guy walked around the back of it. So you see his big monstrous head sticking up above the bell. I was like, well, I don't want that photo.
Well, also one of my favorite parts was when we were standing in line. Speaking of the school kids, there's that teacher explaining all the history and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were next to some other people in the line, and they kept the teacher was talking about, like, oh, well, they talk about equal rights, but then black people didn't have equal rights, blah, 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 blah. And then we're still working on it today. And there's these people that kept going, I don't like the way she's teaching them about how black people are being suppressed. And I go, well, they are. And so I shout out that teacher for teaching kids correctly.
That kind of ended the conversation. So
no, yeah.
I think he did say he worked at the Mint in Colorado.
Well, it was the people behind us that said that. And then they said something, well, they were talking about, we need to get what's-his-face back in there.
We need to get Biden out of the White House and get Trump back in there.
We just didn't say nothing.
Yeah, usually if we don't agree with somebody, instead of saying something back, we just kind of keep quiet.
People, it's okay to say that there's faults with America. We're not perfect. Just admit it. And the sooner we admit that, the sooner we could be a better country. We're not perfect, okay? There's nothing wrong by saying we're still working on trying to create an equal system, because it's definitely not equal. Let me just say that. Okay, but then we got the Citizens Bank Park. We got to go see our first baseball game, kind of, because
and right when the bus pulled into the lot,
the game got canceled.
The parking lot attendant came out and the bus said the game was canceled.
Yes, because I don't know, you guys have probably seen the news, but there's these beautiful Canadian wildfires going on, and they were so big that the smoke was coming down to the East Coast. And it was making it really foggy. If you saw those photos in New York when it was like yellow, we were over there when that was happening.
Yes.
And so the smoke was just hitting Philadelphia that night. And you can kind of feel it in the afternoon. You can see it.
We kind of saw in the news in the morning that we were going to be there right about the time they said it was going to be the worst.
Yeah, but I didn't really think about it until we got there and they canceled the game because of it. And so we're like, well, fuck. I go, finally got to see a game. And the first game was supposed to got canceled. I go, that's not a good sign.
So, then they pull over and you can tell they're kind of contemplating what to do. So I got out of my seat and I walked all the way up front. And we actually had Jay Buckley of Jay Buckley Tours on our tour. So
yeah, shout out my boy.
Yeah, Jay was a real nice guy. Props to him. And he has a great story. But I said, since we're here, can we at least get out and just walk around the ballpark? And he goes, yeah, we could probably do that. So, thanks to him. So they parked and they gave us like 40, 45 minutes to get out and look around. Because, all these ballparks have monuments to retired players or Hall of Famers or what. And at that point, we didn't know if we were going to get back there.
Yeah, that would be the only time we get to see it.
And it's a nice area. It's because they have the football stadium and the basketball and hockey arena all in that same area.
Yeah, Lincoln Financial, Citizens Bank, and then Wells Fargo Center were right there.
And then they have a big Liberty Bell that was in another arena at one point that they have out front that you can take pictures with and stuff.
Yeah, so we got to see the statues and stuff.
Yeah, as best we could. I mean, because a lot of them are behind the fence. So, some of the places they're outside the gates, but at Citizens Bank, they're behind the gates.
Yeah.
So we walked around and did our little tour. And then we walked over kind of by the football stadium, took a couple of photos. But as we were coming back up the last side of the stadium, lo and behold, we run into a YouTuber that I follow, and I was kind of thinking maybe there's a chance we'd see him, but I thought with all the people there, well, actually, it probably worked out in my favor to meet him because most people had left, and he was just there filming the ball players leaving the park, and so I didn't recognize him first because he had a mask on, but I'm like, hey, Philly Captain. His name's Philly Captain. He's a YouTuber.
Talks about him all the damn time.
He does a lot of content on the Phillies games and around Philadelphia and stuff. But I said, hey, can I get a picture? And he's like, yeah, give me a minute. So he did some filming. Well, about that time, a couple of the other guys from our trip, Glenn and Wayne, who we'll talk about a little bit more later, especially Glenn, popped up. And then Glenn kind of took over the interview. He goes, hey, get this on camera, he said to the guy. So he started talking to Glenn, and the captain did. And so Glenn had a whole diatribe. He goes, well, hey, get my friends here, Nathan and I go, Todd? He goes, yeah. So I laughed about that a little bit. So, and then his friend Wayne was there, and he talked about Wayne. Wayne runs a gun museum in Oklahoma. And so they talked about that a little bit. And then he kind of panned over, and Nathan and I got in the shot. And he goes, this will be a day you'll remember for your lifetime. I go, yeah, because we met the Philly Captain. And he kind of laughed. He goes, well, because you met the Philly Captain and the game got smoked out.
Yeah, the Philly Captain was extra.
So yes.
So yeah.
So we actually appear on the episode. It's called Smoked Out, and we're about 7 minutes in. That's when we show up. If you want to go take a look at it, I got some screen captures. Maybe I can tweet out on the Fast Intentions.
You could tweet on your own personal account,
Twitter page.
You can tweet on your own personal.
He's looking at me with disgust. So,
Yes.
okay. So
yeah.
then we ended up just going back to our hotel for the evening.
So we had to go to Baltimore.
We had to go to Baltimore.
For our hotel. So we drove to Baltimore. And then the next day it was the Nationals was playing the Arizona Diamondbacks. Oh, the Phillies was supposed to be playing the Tigers, by the way.
Yes.
And so.
But the Nationals game was going to be an afternoon game.
Okay, yes.
Afternoon start because they call it getaway day.
Yeah.
So teams can travel.
I got you. I got you.
Okay.
So, yes, the Nationals game was supposed to be at 1 p.m. So I don't know what time we left. We left in the morning. And we were driving to Washington, D.C. to go see the game. That was at 1. Well, as we were talking about those Canadian wildfires, they were going south. And unfortunately, we were going south, too. So as we got to D.C., that game got canceled, too, which sucked because smoked out again. So we're like, fuck, man, we're going to miss 2 games.
Well, smoked out is their phrase for bad air quality. So that's what it was. That's why the games actually got canceled because the air quality was bad. But
they canceled the game because of the smoke. And so we're saying they got smoked out, not rained out. They were smoked out. So we were like, well, shoot. Because the other thing we were kind of excited for was after the game, because it would probably end at 4, we would get a guided tour of D.C. in like the bus for like till 9 p.m.
That's something I've always wanted to do is get up to D.C.
Go see everything. Well, because we were on a baseball trip and because the Philadelphia game got rescheduled to that day, and since it was at that point like noon, we drove all the way back to Philadelphia because that
was about a 3-hour trip.
Yeah, because that game was at 6. So we ended up going back. The smoke was cleared, and they actually played that game. So we didn't get to see the Nationals play, but we got to go to the Phillies game that we missed the day before. We saw the makeup.
Yeah.
And they were playing the Detroit Tigers.
Really cool park. A lot of history there, and it's really well done. A lot of these parks we went to were really set up really nicely. Ran into the Philly captain again. Talked to him for several minutes, even though only a little bit of it appeared on his video that day.
Dad screamed like a little girl.
But he was really nice, and he chatted with us for several minutes and what have you. So that was cool.
It was also Miguel Cabrera's last game in
Philadelphia.
So they had a little pre-ceremony for him.
And then it was a scoreless game, wasn't it? Or something. And, Detroit took the lead like in the top of the 9th late.
Because, what's his face was throwing a no-hitter. Zach Wheeler was throwing a no-hitter through 7 innings, and he gave up a hit in the 8th.
Yes.
And then Detroit ended up taking the lead in the top of the 9th after the Phillies were up 1-0 the whole game.
Yeah.
But then
the Phillies won on a walk-off at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Now, there were several people there that were rooting for Detroit, so I did feel bad for them.
On the trip.
But it was exciting because, if you don't have a rooting interest, you're kind of basically rooting for the home team. And to see a walk-off was really cool, especially when we had missed technically the first 2 games. So it was a fun way to get our first game in and a nice finish.
Yeah. So shout out, we actually got to see a game. Well, then we drove all the way back to Baltimore again. So that was another drive. And
it wasn't as long. It was about an hour and a half, maybe.
Yes.
About half the distance.
So then the next game was the next day. It was Kansas City and Baltimore because we were already staying in Baltimore.
Which was a night game.
Yes. Yeah, game started.
And it was cool because our hotel was only like 4 blocks from the stadium.
Not even. It was like a 2-minute walk there. Yeah, you could literally just walk right down there. And so, so that game was at 7 p.m. So we had the whole day in Baltimore.
And they had some stuff scheduled, but we opted out.
Well, they didn't have much scheduled. They would just take a bus down
and lunch and stuff. So
yeah, they would like take.
They definitely made sure you got fed and you had opportunities to eat. That was no doubt.
Are you good?
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, I was trying to get that sentence out like 6 times. So yes, you could spend the day in Baltimore and do whatever you wanted. But Dad, as you found out, he's a big history buff and he loves his history. And he was like, well, I really wanted to go do the tour of D.C., blah, 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 blah. And then another guys on the trip were talking about, well, we could take a bus down to D.C. maybe while we're in Baltimore the whole day. So Dad was really on it. So while we were driving back from Philadelphia, I did some Googling and I did some booking. And we took an arm mark down to Washington, D.C. from Baltimore. It was like a 40-minute train ride.
You're talking about Joe and Matt Defoe, who were a father and son like us on the bus. And they were on our side of the bus, but they were all the way in the back. And so we were going to try to set up something to go with them. And then we decided to kind of change our plans on how we were going to get there. Well, we didn't know their names and we didn't know what room they were staying in. So we we don't have any way to get a hold of these guys. So we kind of felt bad, but it turns out they got to DC and got to get their turn at running around. But that was kind of odd because we were like, well, I don't even know how to get a hold of these guys.
Okay, what do you want to tell the rest of the story then?
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh,
You do the DC part.
so-
I can't get it out.
So Nathan booked the Amtrak for us, and we got there, and it was about a 40-minute ride on Amtrak. And we pop out at Union Station. We go. They have a great big food court in there, but we had to walk through and go up a couple levels. We go out the front door, and boom, there's just DC. It just opens up right in front of you.
Boom, there's DC.
I look to my right, the Postal Museum. I go, Nathan. He's like, no, we don't have time. We're not going in there.
And I go to that fucking.
And I said, well, if you have time, maybe later. He goes, we're not going to have time. So anyway, we walk over. They have like a little bus thing like in Philadelphia that goes to all the different
Yes. So
points of interest, and you pay like $1.
Yeah. So when I was looking it up, I found a way to. I was looking up like a bus to go see. They had this thing called the DC Circulator. That's what it's called.
Sound like a newspaper.
So what? Yeah, they have like different routes, and one of them was the National Mall. You pay $1 to get on, and they had like 15 different stops all around the National Mall. So we got off at one spot. I don't remember where
We
it
got
was.
off Washington Monument.
Yes, we got off at the Washington Monument, and then we saw that, and then you could literally just walk around the whole. We literally spent the whole day looking at pretty much every goddamn thing except the Vietnam War Memorial.
Well, that was my fault because I think we were going to the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial.
We're going to the.
And you said the Vietnam Veterans Memorial is right over here, and I said, well, we'll hit this and then we'll go over there.
Well, it was fucking fuck ton away.
But the way the Martin Luther King Jr. Monument is, if you haven't been there, well, there's a big, what'd you call that, like a lake in the middle of D.C., and there's like a walking trail around it, and a lot of those, well, not a lot, but several of those monuments are right along that, that lake. And so after we got done with Martin Luther King, the Thomas Jefferson one was down there. So we just
all the way across the lake.
Yeah, so we started walking around the lake, and I totally spaced off the Vietnam Veterans Memorial behind us. So, and I felt bad because that's one of the ones I really did want to see as well. But we did make it to everything. From the monument, you could see the World War II memorial. We went down there, and they have all the states listed on pillars. So we found the Nebraska one and took some photos with that. And then Nathan actually took photos for several people that I saw. So that was a nice gesture by him. And he took some videos of some ducks swimming in the reflecting pool or whatever they call that. And then we just made our way down to Lincoln Memorial. That was quite a hike up the stairs. A lot of people there, a lot of student groups and stuff. But we found a nice lady to take our picture in front of the Lincoln Memorial. And I could tell I picked the right person because she turned the camera a couple different ways, and I could see her zooming in and stuff. So she's kind of like me. I picked the right kind of person.
Dad had glowing eyes when he saw that.
Yeah. So, yeah, very nice.
We took this photo because it's just your little head.
Yeah. Because there's like a walking trail and there's like walls. So when I stood there, I thought I was taller than I was, but because Nathan was down below me, all I could see was my head sticking out.
It just looked stupid.
As we came out, there was I think it was a father and daughter going up there, and he said, "I'm just going to wait here while you go up there." And I said, I said, "You should go up there." I said, "You're going to regret it one day if you decide not to go up there and you don't." He goes, "You're right. I'm going to do it." So Nathan kind of chided me for saying something to him, but I'm
I didn't chide you.
Well, you just kind of like, why did you say something?
Well, I didn't do that.
So I'm hoping whoever that gentleman was, that he made it up there all right, and he really enjoyed his experience. So.
Okay. So yeah, we went around, we saw most of all the memorials and stuff except the Vietnam one. And then we went to go see the White House, which wasn't on the mall, but we had to walk like a mile into the city. Well, there was some sort of event going on because Pennsylvania Avenue was all blocked off on both sides, and there was a big ass line for people getting into the White House. So the only way we saw is from we had to go down this little street. There was like guards with like big ass guns standing there watching people, making sure they didn't come in. But we got there's a big gate, there's a big fence, but we could see the White House from that one angle.
They had like an 8-foot circle set up for anybody who wanted to stop and kind of take photos there. So.
Yeah, that's all. That's the only view we got. We couldn't get up close to it.
Yeah,
but at least we got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, and then we took the train back to
you wanted
Baltimore.
You wanted to see Congress, so we zipped up there real quick.
I wanted to see the Supreme Court.
And, I was going to get to that. And then Supreme Court, so we did that. And then I wanted to run into the gift shop at
the goddamn gift shop.
Congress. But you had to, and I didn't think about it, but you had to go down below and go in underneath. Well, then they had security and guards, and I had to go through a metal detector and then go in there. And they had a bunch of school groups, and then I had to go find the gift shop, and then I bought a couple things and zipped out there. I ran back up because I knew Nathan would be waiting for me.
Yeah.
And we got back to Union Station about 20 minutes to spare.
Yeah, and then we saw those other guys that went.
Yeah, and
we
then
met
we were
up
waiting
with
for
them.
our train. We saw Joe and Matt in the station. They came, hey, and I apologized, because I said we weren't sure what we were going to do, and then we changed our mind and we didn't know how to get a hold of you guys. So
Well, I was kind of like, we should probably book these right now because there was only like 3 spots left on that. And I go, we should probably book this because otherwise we would have gotten there like an hour and a half later. And as we saw, it was pretty tight for all the stuff we did.
If not 6, we spent a good 5.5 hours
Just walking. And I'm glad I lost some weight before I went on this trip. Otherwise, my ass would have been, I would have been that guy when that guy said, I'm just going to stay down here, I would have been like, all right, I'm just going to sit here with you.
Well, I'm glad you were.
No, actually, no, I would have hiked my ass up there.
You
It
were a
just would take
trooper.
me a
Yeah,
while.
you were a trooper, and you never really complained about anything that we did that whole trip as far as like physically or having to walk. So
No, I actually felt pretty good on that trip.
yeah.
The only time I was tired is when I ran up those damn rocky stairs. But I think that's because I was running up them. And as I said on my Twitter, I go, I'm more like the Italian cow than the Italian stallion. So
anyway, we got back to the group and we went to Camden Yards. Real nice setup. You just walk in right off the street.
it's
behind,
cool.
Behind they have if you know it, they have a warehouse out in the right field. That's what they call it. A lot of monuments to retired players. They have a Babe Ruth statue, which is a really cool deal. Coming off real quick, and we posted a video on this on our Twitter page, but coming off the Babe Ruth statue, they have like these white baseballs spaced out every so often. Well, if you follow it for about 3/4 of a mile, it takes you to the Babe Ruth Museum and birthplace. So where Babe Ruth was born is actually really close to Camden Yards. So really cool. But as you walk in, you're in the outfield, and they have like little bronze baseball plaques or things on the ground from all the different players that have hit home runs there. And then on the wall on the backside, they do have one from Ken Griffey Jr. who actually hit the warehouse in a
The home run derby
one day. So a really cool ballpark. Reminded me a lot of Citizens Bank, a lot of just like the girders and the open iron, look and stuff. And a lot of the ballparks we saw were like that. Really, and I like the look of it. Really cool.
Yeah, it's like Citizens Bank, but it's cooler because the big warehouse and like just the facade of all of it's really cool. But yeah, I also had a crab cake sandwich there. Very good. I think that's the best thing I ate on the trip.
And that was the game the Royals played.
And they lost.
We saw, and they lost. But, real quick, Citizens Bank Park, they have a Liberty Bell, neon Liberty Bell out in the outfield. And when the Phillies win, it goes back and forth, and they have like a bonging sound and stuff. So that was really cool. But yeah, the Royals lost. It wasn't a great game. It was like 3-2 or something. So
first game was 3-2. That game was 3-2.
Yeah,
there's a lot of 3-2 games.
Yep.
So
then we just walked back to the hotel after the game. Well, we made a side trip to the museum, but we went back there, and then the next day we headed
New York City.
New York.
So that was one thing I liked about this trip. Like I said, the transportation's all booked, and I'm glad because that tour guide we had, the bus driver we had was really good.
Oh, Tiana, was that her name? Or?
Yeah,
I took a photo.
Tiara.
Maybe we should post that photo. Me and the bus driver. But she was great. She didn't take guff from anybody. She stuck her nose in there, and she got us out of those ballparks real quick after all the games.
Yeah, and especially in New York City when that shit's bonkers, driving around like that.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah,
that's the best. Awesome. I kept every time I got off the bus, I said, "You're killing it. You're killing it." And like the last day, she said, "No, you're killing it." And so it was fun. And I had Nathan, like I said, after the Citibank game, I had Nathan take a picture.
I gave her a nice $90 tip.
Yeah,
because she deserved it.
I tipped her a couple times.
Yeah. So yeah, we went to New York City. They dropped us off. Well, they were supposed to drop us off near the Rockefeller Center, but there was some big ass parade going on in the middle of it.
I think that was the Pride Parade.
Was it the Pride Parade?
Wasn't it?
I thought it was something else. Oh. I thought they were having another Pride Parade, but no, there was a big parade going on.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was a Pride Parade, but it may have been. But it was just ending, so like the traffic is all messed up because we couldn't get to where we needed to go. So they just dropped.
So we went. Yeah. So
they just dropped us off somewhere, and they're like, "Oh, we'll be somewhere in this area." So they dropped us off right next to the MLB store. So we went there and shopped.
Perfect. Yeah.
I bought so much crap there.
Yeah, I bought some stuff too.
I spent so much they gave me free Yankees tickets. They're like, "Oh, here's 2 valid tickets for a Yankees game." I go, "Well, I'm never going to be back."
Why did they just kick you in the nuts?
Exactly. Me, all my Red Sox stuff. So I go, "Well, I'm not going to go on this trip." So I gave it to some random guy, and he was like, "Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it." So bought a lot of stuff. I could actually fit in stuff in the MLB store, so that was pretty cool. I could buy some stuff because I couldn't fit in anything before.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then we went to go.
Proud of you.
Thanks. And then Glenn and Wayne, our buddies, we went to go find somewhere to eat, but we had to get back to the bus at 1, and it was already like 12:30, and it was taking a while. So we're like, hey, we need this food to go.
So you and Glenn took off, started heading back to the bus, and Wayne and I waited for the food, and then we said we need it to go. We can't wait for it.
Yeah. So they waited, and they were like, well, you go, we'll run back, and I start with Glenn because I love my boy Glenn, but he's he needed some more time to walk. So we got there, but then there was a few people there, and the bus still hasn't showed up. So I texted you, it was fine. And they had just gotten there right when you came around with all our food. Mm-hmm. But my biggest thing was I got a Caesar salad, and they didn't put a fucking fork in there. And so I couldn't eat it. Because after that, we took a guided tour of Manhattan. We had this tour guide. She took us all over the city. And she was
very knowledgeable.
Jesus Christ, she knew everything about that damn city. Yeah. And she lived there her whole life. I could live here for 100 years and still not know every goddamn thing that's going on. So yeah, that was kind of nice, but it was kind of long after a while. Just because we're seeing so much stuff. And then it was on the bus. So it was kind of hard to see out the window and what you were pointing at.
If stuff was on your side, it was a lot easier than on the other side. Because, the windows are smaller. They do have some video screens on there because they showed some videos and stuff while we were driving. Yeah. And then, of course, you had people's heads. So it's...
Because we were near the back.
Yeah.
But we went at the back. So, So yeah, we did that for like 3 hours. And then they took us to Yankee Stadium to go, Red Sox Yankees, baby. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about Yankee Stadium?
Yeah. Well, they're famous for the this
Memorial. I was going to say coming out.
Well,
Memorial Park.
I was trying not to burp. They have Monument Park.
Oh, Monument Park.
But when you go, you have to go to a certain gate. Well, we got there. That thing was backed up forever. Yeah. So we got in line, but it moved pretty quick.
Yeah, they were pretty efficient.
And so we had John Marshall with us, who's a postal carrier out of Arizona. And then we had Elliot, who was there with his grandfather, Ron, from Michigan. Well, Ron's a little slower moving than Elliot. So we see Elliot, we grab him, we pull him in line with us. He goes, I don't see my grandfather. Where's my grandfather? I said, they'll be coming. I said, because the one thing Buckley tours do is they make sure Jay leads the tour, and then they have the other guy. And our other chaperone on this trip was Mike. I never caught his last name, but Mike's a real nice guy.
It's Hoppard, I think.
And he was actually the first guy we met because he was on our shuttle to the hotel. But he would stay in the back to make sure everybody got there. So we kept moving. Well, we saw Ron, so we grabbed him, pulled him in line with us. Well, then you go through the security checkpoint and you get inside.
And then there's another big line.
Well, then you have to get in another line to get into Monument Park. But Monument Park is an open all game. They close it right before the game starts.
I think they close like 30 minutes before the game starts.
Yeah, so you're in line and you get in there, and then so everybody's in there taking pictures because, I mean, the history of the Yankees, love them or hate them, have a great history.
Hate them.
A lot of, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, just, names upon names upon names. Well, they have numbers of all the retired statues and what have you, and they have plaques and whatever. So you're in there, and you're trying to take pictures of this stuff. Well, the workers are trying to move people through there, so they start yelling, "You got to keep moving! You got to keep moving! All these people are trying to get through there." Well, then we had a side thing that we wanted to get done, and I'll let Nathan expound on this. But go ahead, the little thing we wanted to do in Memorial Park there, or Monument Park.
Yeah, I keep calling it Memorial Park. Yeah. Well, my grandpa who passed away in 2016 was a big Yankee fan. Biggest Yankee fan, knew a lot about history and all that stuff. Well, I don't really think I chose Red Sox in spite, but I was a Red Sox fan, so I always gave him crap. But he passed away in 2016, and my first trip was in 2017 after I graduated. And so what we did is because my grandpa was, I don't even know.
And this is technically illegal. You're not supposed to do this.
Yeah, this is a hearsay. This isn't I'm not saying I did this. Well, I'm not saying we didn't do this, but yes, my aunt had a little bit of his ashes she snuck in her purse, and he may have been placed near Mariano Rivera and some of the others. And so we took a photo there last time.
Yeah, we stopped. Nathan sat down there.
And so I sat in the same place we took that last photo, just so we can go visit my grandpa. Potentially, maybe he was there, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So that was a bucket list, not a bucket list, but that was an extra thing we did. And so so we got to see grandpa, maybe. If we did do that.
Maybe sat on him.
Yeah, maybe. We don't know. So, yeah. So that was another thing we wanted to do. And then, Monument Park's always cool. Last time I was there, Jeter or Mariano wasn't in there, I don't believe. So I got to go see them this time. So that was cool. Mm-hmm. And then...
and I wore to to support you, I wore a Red Sox jersey, one of your Red Sox jerseys. So you and I were both in Red Sox gear.
Yeah, Yankee Stadium. But they were playing the Red Sox. I mean, they were playing the Red Sox, so that helps. If I was just there randomly with a Red Sox dog, I think I would have got more shit, probably.
And I know there's a great history, but all the history was at the old stadium, and they built a new stadium a few years ago here. I don't know. I guess I was just kind of disappointed with Yankee Stadium. I just didn't really get a good vibe from it. I mean, it was a great atmosphere because of the Red Sox and Yankees, but I don't know. It just seemed a little sterile to me. The only part I really liked was the subway runs up behind the stadium, so through the outfield you could kind of see the subway pull up every once in a while.
No, that's cool.
And that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and then they still have like those like fence things on the top, like the whatever they're called.
The facade.
Yeah, the facade.
Like
well,
that's
the
what they had in the old Yankee
Yeah,
Stadium.
so that's always cool. And then it still has the big blue signs.
But they still had the
Stadium.
digital scoreboard. They hadn't upgraded to LED yet, I think.
Yeah, but
so,
I mean, like, I'm not saying just as a Red Sox fan that we have a superior ballpark, but yeah, besides Monument Park, it's just kind of like a big concrete stadium. It's not sterile. Yeah, it's not like cool looking. It's just
it just doesn't. It doesn't have the history. The echoes don't ring out there. You know.
Yeah.
The house that Ruth built. Well, he actually played across the street where the park is now, and we talked about trying to get over there. Well, that was not possible. If we wanted to get to Monument Park and do that, it would just wouldn't happen. So
yeah, I mean, that's not the biggest deal to me, but
yeah.
But yeah, the game was all right. Red Sox lost. Devers hit a good homer, but that's all they did.
As soon as I went to the bathroom, I heard crack, and I heard all this cheering, and when I came out, I missed a homer.
So the Red Sox lost, and Dad didn't get a video of the starting lineups when I went to go get my veggie burrito.
Well, we had found this really cool ice cream place.
I looked it up. I said, "Oh, they have cool ice cream."
Yes.
I go, "We're gonna go get these." They had like vanilla wafers in it. It was good.
Well, it was down on the first level, and our seats were like on the third level, and it took us a while to find how to get
how to get up there.
And stuff was melting, and I had like Baby Ruth candy bars in mine and stuff. Well, so I was trying to get that eating stuff. Well, Nathan had to leave, and he wanted me to film the starting lineups. Well, my hands were covered with ice cream and dripping, and they give you these little small square napkins. Well, that's not enough to clean anything off an ant's ass. So I wasn't able to do it. And
what the hell is that simile?
He was pretty upset with me, and I tried to explain the reason why, but it's just one of those things where something he really wanted, and I just wasn't able to do it. So I felt bad, but I just had ice cream on my hands. And
it's okay. I made a bigger deal out of it than
I was just like, well, I'm just going to smear ice cream all over your phone, and probably even if I do get a video, it's not going to be very good. So,
it's okay.
But anyway,
it's okay. It wasn't a bigger deal. I made it out to be a bigger deal than it was.
So
I think.
then
you were probably making me mad at one point, so I made a big deal out of it.
Next day was DC was my second bucket list. I had 3 bucket list things that happened.
He has a lot of bucket list stuff.
Well, I've not.
You should make a bucket list, and we should try and finish it.
Well, I have that photo frame at my house of bucket list stuff I've done.
But that's like
But see, this is a topic I want to save for another podcast sometime. But to me, a bucket list is ever evolving because things can be added, things can be taken off.
Well, I agree.
I mean, like the Rocky Steps, that's been on my list for 40 some years because Rocky came out in 76,
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that's been on my list for a long time.
But we should make that a segment, Dad's bucket list, and we could change it.
We could. But going to DC was a bucket list. And another reason I take a lot of photos just to get off on a quick little tangent. I'm turning 57 tomorrow, so you can send all your well wishes and presents to the Fast Intention Studios here. But I'm just turning 57. I'm just getting to these places now. Nathan's 23, and he's thinking, well, I'll be back here, blah blah blah. And I'm just thinking, I'm just getting here now, so the chances of me getting back here are probably really remote. Because there's a lot of places I still want to go see. So I think that's a lot of reasons why I take videos and photos, because I just want to have those memories that I can have for later on when maybe my memory's not so good. I can, and I think that's part of the reasons, because Barb's aunt's 95 and she's having a few memory issues, and she likes to see photos of her, from her previous, earlier life, and it makes her happy, and so I think maybe that's a little bit of it, but yeah. So but like I said, I just glad I was able to do these things and spend the time with you. But then after the Yankee Stadium, the third day of Sunday, we drove up to
Cooperstown,
the home of the Baseball Hall of Fame, and that's a place I've really wanted to go for a long, long time.
Well, to be honest, I was thinking Fenway. I kind of forgot about the Cooperstown day
What?
when we were talking about it. Yeah, but No, and like I said,
And I'm sorry we're droning on, but we're just trying to. I mean, we're actually really trying to do synopsis of all these instead of the full blown stories. But
yeah, Jesus, there's more. But
there's
no,
a lot of photos and stuff we can share on our.
well, let me go on to the photo
Twitter
thing. I'm
later.
okay with you taking photos. It's
You don't like to be in a lot of.
I don't like to be in the photo. And then you go, do you want a photo of this? Oh, do you want to get a photo of that? Oh, I can put you in this photo. Do you want to do it? Oh, that's a good photo opportunity. It's like, okay, if you want to take photos, you can go. You just don't got to, like, oh, he's always, oh, make sure you get that. And then you want me to take photos for you. And it's like, fuck, you want so much.
Well, because I'll say, here, take a photo. And I'll go to hand him my camera. He goes, no, I'll just use mine. So
Because my phone's better.
Well, yeah. So I said that earlier. So I just got to the point where I just quit. I just started expecting him to take the photos on his camera.
I know, when I'm at Fenway watching the game, he's like, oh, that's a good photo. You should take that photo. I'm like, leave me alone. I'm trying to watch the Red Sox.
Well, that was during intermission. I didn't say nothing during the game. And we didn't actually, before we'll get there, but we didn't actually spend a lot of time next to each other at Fenway. Because you sat in the seats and I stood up in the back. And because they would hand out the tickets randomly on the bus. Say, okay, how many do you need? They give you so many. You know, and I've given Nathan props because he's lost a lot of weight. But he's still a bigger guy. Well, then I was sitting next to him, and then the guy who had the ticket next to me was a bigger guy. And I said, I am not going to sit down here like this all game. So luckily in the concourse area behind our section, they had like shelving on the rail. So it was made for people to stand there. So I stood back there.
Yeah, they had like a little table for you.
Yeah, it was nice. And several of the guys came back there and stood next to me. And then they left and some other guys came back. So, yeah, I had a great time. And
well, I sat with you for the first inning. And then I go, well, I'm going to go sit in the seats for a few innings. Mm-hmm. But then those guys, the Detroit fans, I don't know their names. Well, they had stuff and they go, well, watch it for us. But then they didn't get back for like 4 innings.
Yeah,
so,
that was Kent and Doug, I think.
I would have been fine watching it, but I go, I'll just sit here just in case. And then when it finally came back, I went up. And I think that was during like the 6th or 7th.
Yeah, but we had fun. We did the 7th inning stretch. And then we sang Sweet Caroline. And...
Okay, hold on. We gotta go back to Cooperstown.
Okay. Sorry.
So yeah, we're at Cooperstown.
Yes.
We get there and they drive through. Say, oh, and then okay. Talk about.
I can tell if I look that I'm going to get berated here.
Yeah. You don't gotta get berated, but the photo thing, right?
Well, I tried, but John. I asked John Marshall is the guy we met. He's a letter carrier from Phoenix.
Yep.
Well, because and I'll explain this real quick. The way you sit on the bus is when you pay off your trip in full. Well, John paid his off right away, so he was in the very front, right behind Jay. So I texted him coming to town. I said, "Can you get a picture of the city sign as we go in?" And he sent me a couple, but when we saw him, he goes, "I missed the wooden one." He goes, "I just wasn't ready when we went by." So then we got off the bus, and Mike was there, and I said, "Hey," because there was a sign on the other side of town that we saw on the little drive-through. And I said, "How long a walk is that?" He said, "Well, about 15 minutes." So I said, "Well, that's not too bad." So
it was more like 40 or 30.
So then I'll let Nathan take over from here.
Well, he just wanted a photo of this damn sign that said "Welcome to Cooperstown," which was okay, but it was just like a 30-minute walk, and I kind of wanted to go get into the museum and see some stuff, but we had to take a big trip all the way over here, so just Dad can get a photo of this sign.
Sidewalk ran out,
and there's no sidewalk. So walking on the street, and my legs. I mean, like that was the only time I didn't want to walk, just because I wanted to go to Cooperstown. So we walked all the way to see this, so Dad could get a photo with the sign. I'm gonna post a photo of you with the sign, so people can see it.
Write that down.
But that was just. Talk about Dad when Dad's on top of it's been asking me for photos for 4 days. It's just like fuck. Now we got to go see this damn sign and get a photo with it. So
I did give you the option not to go. I said,
yeah, but I didn't want to abandon you. I didn't want you getting lost. But then luckily there was a trolley on the way back that we could take, and he was nice enough to drop us off right at the museum.
Well, because we noticed the trolley when we were walking, and we said, "Man, maybe he'll come back and we can catch the ride there."
Yeah, and he popped up right when we got
like
there.
A minute after we got back. Here he came. And it was just him, and I assume it was his daughter. He must have had his daughter riding with him.
Yeah, he did.
So we jumped on there, and I go, and my phone was getting kind of low already. I go, I wish I had my charger. Well, lo and behold, our bus pulls up.
Yeah, the tour bus.
And I said, "Do we got a couple minutes?" He goes, "Well, how much?" I go, "Maybe 5." He goes, "Oh yeah, go ahead." So I run over there, and Tiana's in there, and I said,
Tiara.
I said, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I'm just gonna, just park in the bus. I'm gonna take a rest." I said, "You're not gonna go see anything?" She goes, "Nah, I'm just gonna try to catch a nap here." And I said, "Well, can I get on?" I'd left my charger. "Oh, yeah." So I ran on, grabbed my charger. I said, "See you later." And I hopped back on the trolley and went back up, and it dropped us off right in front of the museum.
Yeah.
But now, we didn't go to the museum first.
Yeah, we went to they had a baseball wax museum we went to, which I don't feel like I remember. I think I did see it, but I didn't really care. But then.
Well, because we knew everybody on our trip was going to go right to the museum.
Yeah.
And anybody in town was going to probably be at the museum. So I said, well, let's go walk up to the wax museum. and it worked out. There was like nobody in there when we were.
We were the first people in there.
There was a couple people in there, but I think they had popped out and were done.
Yeah, so we had like the whole museum to ourselves.
Yeah, which was really cool, and they had a lot of really cool wax figures. I mean, they even had baseball and movies. They had Kevin Costner. They had a display called the Two Georges, which was George Costanza and George Steinbrenner in their office.
Yeah, they could tell they haven't messed with that in a while. George Costanza had a lot of cobwebs on him.
He had a big cobweb off his head.
Yeah, but it was like they were kind of. It wasn't. We ended up going to the wax museum in New York City, like Madame Tussauds, which is like the big crazy one. Yeah. But like you could tell it was a little homemade than the other one. But they were still cool to see.
Yeah, they had Lou Gehrig on his the retirement speech.
They had Wade Boggs on the horse.
Yeah, and they had Ozzie Smith doing his little backflip. And
the coolest one was Ty Cobb. They had him sliding, but he was like on the wall, so it looked like he was sliding down the wall.
Yeah, I did get a picture of that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then who was the last? We were like second to last display. I go, Nathan, and I made like a little kid face when they're like all excited. He's like, what? I go, can't you hear that? He's like, what? Well, I could hear a little bit of Who's on First. Well, the last display was Abbott Costello, and they were playing they're doing their Who's on First skit, and when it would end, it would start over.
No, and so he sat there and listened to the whole damn thing.
I watched most of it, and I laugh. I still laugh every time. It makes me chuckle. I love Abbott Costello. So
yeah, so he got to see that. He was all happy,
mm-hmm.
and then we went to the actual museum.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that. There's so much shit in there.
Yeah.
You could spend the whole day there reading everything.
Yeah.
You could spend 3 days there reading everything.
Some stuff you just had to skip just because you're like, well,
there's so much. And I had been there before, so I felt kind of okay going through it kind of fast. But there's so much stuff. You could stay there like a week and not read everything.
Yeah, they had the first baseball from a game where admission was charged. They had Abner Doubleday's first baseball. They had Babe Ruth's uniform, which I thought was like the coolest thing ever. And then they had the full-length picture of him there, and then they had a glass case out front with his uniform and his hat there. And that was really cool.
They had
bats, a lot of balls.
They had a lot of Hank Aaron balls. One of his like home run chase.
Yeah, championship rings.
They had a ring from pretty much every world championship.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Ton of history. A lot of the awards and the cups they used to hand out. And I was telling some of the guys there, a lot of those awards they used to give out were a lot cooler than what they do now. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like everything was like sterling silver and just crafted really coolly and
stuff.
And they had jerseys from important moments, gloves, baseballs. They had a section to baseball cards.
Which I'm not as into.
They had a section where you could watch like little clips of different videos from the history of baseball.
The first time I was there in 2017, we did that a lot more. There's people like, because they had clips from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s and 2010s. And so you could literally just scroll through and see all like the biggest moments. So we would just go through and click them all. We didn't do that as much on this one. Plus we had so much crap we wanted to do. Because then in Cooperstown, there's so many shops. There's shops all over the street. Yes,
but at the museum, then you go downstairs and they have the hall of plaques. Where
we did that first. Plaques.
Yeah, and they have them all set up by years. So you go in there to by the 35 to 39 or whatever.
The only one that's off is the first class is like in the middle.
Yeah, towards the back.
Yeah, and
you walk in on the other side and you work your way around. So I took photos of a bunch of them. Of course, got a photo with the George Brett one. Nathan got one with David Ortiz.
He wasn't there the first time I was there.
And it was really cool because they have empty ones for the next plaques the next couple of years. Well, the two guys that are going in this year, which is Fred McGriff and
Scott Rowland.
Well, they've put their signature on the wall where their plaque's going to go. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
And then you go around, like you said, and then they have a wall where they have the first 5 inductees the first year. And that was Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, and Christy Mathewson, I think, and I can't remember the other two. I got photos of that. And then you go through there, and I had a couple of wax figures of Ted Williams and Babe Ruth. But you go off to the side, there's a hallway, and as you go up the hallway, there's like etchings in the glass of like just generic baseball players, doing like in positions or making baseball moves. But what's cool is when the sun shines, it projects those images onto the floor.
Honus Wagner and Walter Johnson.
Thank you. So you walk up in there and there's a display, and then they had it's kind of like, it looks like a facade of a movie theater, and you walk in, it's like all the movies. There's like movie posters from a ton of the movies about baseball and movies. And they had like a screen playing where you could watch clips of it if you wanted to. Well, when you come out, you go in on the one side. When you come out, there's the Field of Dreams movie poster, with Kevin Costner.
But he's not in it.
He's not there. So you can go up and take your photo like you're Kevin Costner. So I went up there and did the hands on the hip and crossed my legs. Well, it was hard to keep my balance because with my feet crossed. And so Nathan was trying to take my picture and I was trying to keep my balance. So we snapped a couple and then he got up there, but he did his own thing, which was pretty cool in retrospect. So we did that and then just walked around. They had a little gift shop back there. We bought a couple little things.
Yeah, I bought a book. I don't buy a lot of books.
And then we ended up in the main gift shop and bought a lot of stuff. I was actually kind of disappointed with the actual gift shop at the Hall of Fame. Because I was looking for
they have so much shit.
I was looking for some team specific stuff for the Royals, but when you only have one Hall of Famer, they don't really do a lot.
Unfortunately, yeah, that was kind of the issue with you guys.
But
they couldn't make a whole shirt with.
But because we took the side trip to the sign and then went to Max Museum, our time in town was kind of limited because we had to meet up at 6 because we were going to take a big group bus tour photo. So then we had to kind of work our way through the rest of the town. But,
so we saw Doubleday Field real quick.
Yeah, that was cool. We saw that with John. We met up at John there and went in and took some photos, and that was neat. And we couldn't get on the field because there was a Legion game going on. But we just went up in the stands, took a few photos there.
Yeah. And then you wanted to go keep shopping. Well, I wanted to eat really bad, so I went to go eat by myself.
So we kind of split up, and I did some shopping.
And then I ended up going through a few shops afterwards.
Yeah, me too. I ended up just grabbing a piece of pizza and a Coke, but the lady at the pizza shop was super nice. She goes, well, we just got some stuff coming out. I said, there's a piece up here. I'll take that. She goes, no, well, wait, get the fresh stuff. So real nice. And, gave me a good deal on a soda and a drink.
Yeah,
and
my wrap and my salad sucked at that little corner thing. I should have went back to that fucking pizza place that we saw.
That's where I went.
So if I go to Cooperstown, I'm going to that damn pizza place.
So I was eating it out on the street and we got to the next shop. So I was just sitting there stuffing my face. And John was with me at that time. So Nathan was off doing his own thing, and John and I kind of went through some shops. But some were like baseball cards and baseball memorabilia where they sell stuff. Well, I wasn't going to buy any of that stuff. So I just kind of went through and looked at a few things. But I wanted to actually go where they had like, trinkets or clothing or whatever. So, and by the time I got back to the bus, I had like 4 big bags, and all the ladies were making fun of me.
Yeah, well,
I put them all to shame.
That David Ortiz signed ball over there, I bought that at Cooperstown the first time I went.
And you got me a nice replica George Brett plaque when you were there.
So when I went, I got a David Ortiz plaque.
Yes,
because they didn't have that last time.
That's right.
And then there was a shop that had a bunch of minor league shirts of like wacky teams, and then they had hats of all of them.
Oh yeah.
And so I was looking at shirts because my aunt's a big dog person, and so she found out there's a team called the El Paso Chihuahuas, and so she always thought that's get funny. My Aunt Rachel. So I tried to find a El Paso Chihuahua shirt. They didn't have one, and so they had like a ball cap of it, but she doesn't wear ball caps. But they had one for like the San Jose Churros, I believe, and it was like a little churro holding up a baseball bat. And I'm pissed I didn't buy it for her, but I didn't buy it. But they had a Portland Sea Dogs hat, and so I bought that for myself.
The Boston AAA team.
Double A
team.
They didn't. They probably had a Worcester one, but I didn't buy that. So I saw that, and I went to another shop, but it was like custom made bats or something. I didn't care, and I think at that point I had to go back to the bus.
Well, we had to meet up for the photo, and that was. I was kind of thought that'd be a lot more organized, but they just kind of grabbed some random guy and they said, "Okay, everybody gathering in." And I thought, well, they'll have some of the kids still on the steps, and the people behind them will just kind of filter in.
No, it's just like, hey, we got to take this damn photo. Crowd up.
I had to go from one side all the way to the other side so I could at least get my face in there where you could kind of see me. Because otherwise, I don't think you would have been able to see me. Because there was one family, there was like a father, son, and an uncle, and these guys were all like 6'6" and 6'7", 6'8", they're huge. They tried to put most of the tall people in the back. Well, so I went over and found a spot. So we'll post that photo, but you have to really look to find me, and especially Nathan. Nathan's back there, but he's really kind of just chinning up.
Which I was okay
in
with.
The photo, yeah. So.
And then John came out to gift shop. Oh, did you guys take the photo? Yeah. Oh, we already took it.
So John, shout out John. Sorry, John, you missed.
It's okay.
Missed the photo.
Chances are you want to see him. Anyways.
But I told him to lay on his side and do like his head on the elbow thing. We would just Photoshop him and down on the front.
Yeah, there you go.
He kind of laughed about that. But
yep. And then we went to some place in Massachusetts to sleep. And then we had to take a morning trek to the UPS store because we had so much shit we couldn't carry everywhere.
That was quite a walk. It said 15-minute walk, but we didn't know it was uphill and down through like
it started to rain.
Industrial area. It rained a little bit. And then we got down to where we thought it was going to be, and it was all taped off. So they put new black top. And we're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So it's an industrial area. We get there, we walk in, and this little old lady comes out of the back. And I go, oh, shit.
But she was very efficient.
Very efficient, very nice. She got our stuff done, and we said, shit, we got to go back because we had to turn in our luggage for the bus and still eat. So we said, fuck it. Sorry. We called an Uber and we Ubered back to the
Well,
to
I've
the
said the
hotel.
F word so many times already, so it's okay.
So we got back there, I had to go up to our room, get our luggage, and drop that off. Then we went in and
So
had breakfast.
I was scared we weren't going to get the luggage out in time because they had to be out by a certain time.
Yeah.
And then when I was trying to find an Uber,
I think they would have waited for us.
well, when we were trying to find, there was a small town in Massachusetts we were in,
Mm-hmm.
so I was trying to find an Uber and there wasn't any. There was like one like 20 minutes in like a different city, but then luckily one kind of just popped up. And we're like, yes, because otherwise we would have to walk back. That would have been 30 minutes, and we would have been really late.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that was a nice $150 trip to UPS. Ship my stuff back.
But it was beneficial because
And then stupid Sun Country Airlines charge you F ton for your luggage. But yeah, and then we went to Boston, Massachusetts.
Did a tour of Fenway,
which we
had
did
done last year.
Yeah. And so, well, I get to see it again. I always like looking at Fenway anyways. It's cool.
Well, it was different because it was game day, so we didn't go in the locker room like we did last year. And the tour guy was really, really good. We just went a different way. But, yeah, it was fun. And then, not to jump ahead too much, but the last night was Citi Field, which we had gone to last year too. So the last 2 nights were really fun for me because instead of just trying to worry about seeing everything and getting all these pictures,
you could just sit there and enjoy it.
I could enjoy it and actually went out of my way to try to spend time with some of the other people on the trip just to talk with them and get to know them a little bit. So, but anyway, we toured Fenway, which was really cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it was their first time, so they were really enjoying it. And so,
yeah. Yep. So we did that, and then we got free time at Quincy Market.
Mm-hmm.
Quincy Market, this is a good place that has. I think it's called the Flying Dutchman, I think, and they have these really good fish and chips. So I knew I had to go back there and get those. Shout out my man Wayne. He goes, I'll get it too, and he goes, oh, that was a good choice.
I think I had pulled pork mac and cheese, which was really good.
Yeah, because didn't you get like a burger last time? That wasn't that good.
I don't remember when I got there.
I think you had a burger, and you're like, it's all right.
Well, because you guys all wanted fish and chips, and I don't eat fish, so I mean, I said, okay.
I made sure I got a lobster roll when we were there last time.
Right. Oh, so did John. John had a lobster roll too.
But I already had one, and I just knew those fish and chips were good, so I got that. And then we had already been there, so I didn't really care what we did in free time. So we ended up showing John and Wayne around. We took them to Old North Church.
Wayne's one of the guys that was on the trip with his buddy Glenn, and they ended up sitting behind us on the bus. So we chatted with them a lot, especially Glenn.
Glenn's a big baseball aficionado, so all day he'd show us, hey, look at this. Hey, look at this.
He'd grab our seat and pull himself forward and go, hey, Todd. Hey, Nate.
He called me Nick a lot. Yeah.
He called you Nick because our tour guide on the Fenway tour is Nick, so I think he got you mixed up a little bit. But real nice guy. But John and Wayne hadn't seen any of this stuff, so we took him up to the Old North Church and Paul Revere's house, and we went and grabbed some cannolis at Mike's Pastries, which I was really looking forward to doing. I got 2 of them.
I got a Slurpee at 7-Eleven.
You got a Slurpee at 7-Eleven.
Because we don't have 7-Eleven in Nebraska, so you got to get a Slurpee. They're good.
And then we walked up. We saw the cemetery where Paul Revere was buried,
which was cool because we hadn't seen that before.
Yeah, very cool. Sam Adams is buried there. John Hancock's buried there.
The victims of the Boston Massacre were there.
Yes.
And it kind of stinks because they had. Sorry,
no.
It kind of stinks because they were just like, oh, here they put all the remains in like one grave.
Yeah.
I guess they couldn't. Maybe they didn't know whose remains were who, but.
But it was cool, famous Americans, people that really had a hand in establishing this country. And like I said earlier, just to put that in perspective and really take that in and, really, excuse the phrasing, but revere these people the way they should have been. You just, you stood there and you looked at their graves and you read the markers, whatever, and you took some photos, but you just didn't feel like you did them enough justice for everything they did for the country. But, we went there and we paid our respects, and, maybe it was more of a sightseeing deal than, visiting somebody's grave. But, that's I think they understand, people understand that it's more of a touristy thing. And the cemetery is surrounded by office buildings and stuff now.
There's like a school next to it.
And there one side was a school. So, yeah, Boston's kind of just enveloped a lot of these historical places. I mean, it's good they still have and maintain them as well as they should, but it's just, when your city keeps expanding, it's just too bad they don't like establish a perimeter around some of these places or what have you. But like Old North Church, I mean, it's right across the street from a barber shop or a bar, or Paul Revere's house is, by a little bakery or whatever. I mean, they're there and it's good, but it just, I don't know, something about it just kind of.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's cool that it's like intertwined in the city because it looks like it kind of just fits in there. It's like, oh, there it is.
Well, they do a good job of trying to replicate the facade. Like Old North Church is all brick buildings, so everything around it. Of course, Boston's mostly a brick building because of the age of the city. And plus, a lot of the wooden structures from back in those days burned down. Didn't make it anyway.
So yeah, and then we went to Fenway for the game. They were playing the Rockies. Red Sox lost again, so that was fun. But
fun experience. One of the funner things, like I said, we sang the seventh inning stretch, and then we sang Sweet Caroline. And, the Van Ness family, who was a dad, a husband and wife, and they brought their daughter, and she brought her 2 sons. Well, they got on the big screen, and so that was cool. And then a group to the left of us, because they were on our right, if you're looking at the field, got on the big screen. So I said, well, it's our turn. So it was the Twomies, which is a couple that we spent a lot of time with that day walking around Fenway. We just kind of had crossed paths with them and just ended up walking around with them. Real nice couple. John, Glenn, me, and I think Mike Eglin, who was a guy who was there with his buddy Jim Carlisle from Montana. So I said, well, if we're going to get on the big screen, we need to dance. So we're out there dancing, and John took some video with his GoPro or his phone or something. So we're out there dancing. We never did get on the big screen, but we had a good time.
There's one camera guy over there. You had to get his, hey! You should have yelled at him.
Well, I didn't want to be that noticeable about it.
Well, you were already dancing like an idiot.
But then, well, not like an idiot. I was dancing fancy.
Well, I don't know.
But then it started raining a little bit, and then it stopped, and then it started raining some more.
And then went to extra, then it started pouring.
And then, like you said earlier, the tarp got pulled, so we had to leave.
But the Red Sox walked the bases loaded twice. So it was 3-3, and it was 5-3, and then they pulled the tarp. So I go, well, I guess we saw a 9-inning game. We didn't see the end, and then Boston didn't end up doing anything.
They ended up losing. Yeah.
So that was cool. Boston was the only team well, actually, that's not true. The only teams we saw twice were the Red Sox and the Yankees, and then the Red Sox lost both, and then the fucking Yankees won both games.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of Yankees fans on the.
Yeah, but we don't care about them.
I got some hated because at the introductory press conference, but when you introduce yourself the first night, you say something about yourself.
You said you hate the Yankees.
Well, the first game I ever went to was on a bus trip from my dad's work, and we saw the Royals and Yankees. I think it was 74, but Nathan couldn't find the number, so it might be 73 because I'm positive the score. But the Yankees won 10-3, and I said, "Well, I've hated the Yankees and loved the Royals ever since, so I got to feel." Rrr. Well, I ended up I made pretty good friends with some of the Yankees fans that I'll mention a little bit later here. But
it was so nice.
Yeah, and they were all everybody on the trip was real nice.
Yeah, and then everyone gave me credit. I was the only Boston fan, and I wore a Boston thing every day. So.
Well, then there were some people that came up to you and said, "Well, we're rooting for Boston, but we didn't want to say it out loud."
Well, they said that Yankee Stadium. I go, you guys going to cheer for us? They're like, oh yeah. I go. Well, you don't got to be loud about it in New York. I go, just do a little yes. Like you don't gotta get Yankee fans yelling at you. Oh, and I didn't get much crap from Yankees fans. When I was in Yankee Stadium, I feel, oh, Red Sox suck. Like some guy would come up to me and just say, and then leave, and I'm like, oh, whatever. I kind of expected it. And then the next day we went back to New York, we traveled the whole day pretty much. That was, and we got the Citi Field super early. That was Yankees and Mets. And for atmosphere wise, that was the best atmosphere.
It was bad. It was great. The Yankee fans would be yelling at the Mets fans, the Mets fans would be yelling at the Yankee fans. And all in a New York accent, which I can't do justice. I mean, we messed around with the Boston accent earlier. Get out of here. Go, we're going to God. But I just can't, even try to do a Yankee accent. But it was almost hysterical to me. And I wore my Eric Hosmer jersey again. So I got some hate from the Yankee fans and the Mets fans. And I actually had a couple talk to me after the game, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So. Well, it was funny when we were leaving, some guy was like selling stuff. And he goes, hey, buddy, do me a favor. I go, what? He goes, get out of New York. Because I had all my Red Sox shit on. And in there, I had, I think 2 Yankee guys gave me shit for wearing Red Sox stuff. Mm-hmm. And then most of them are Mets fans. They're like, you're rooting for us tonight, right? Because you're wearing Red Sox stuff. I go, yeah, of course. I'll never root for the other team. They're like, yeah, let's go. Or in the Mets Hall of Fame, we passed the stupid 86 World Series, which I'm glad I wasn't alive for. I said that multiple times. And then some guy goes, oh, you don't want to watch this video. He goes, go away. I go, yeah, I'm glad I wasn't alive then. He goes, yeah. So, but yeah, Mets fans were cool. But yeah, that game was the best just because
atmosphere.
Let's go Yankees. Yankees suck. Let's go Yankees.
Yeah, it was a big sellout. A lot of people there, and we had really good seats. I mean, we were right down the outfield, right behind the foul pole in left field. I mean, the foul pole kind of obstructed our view a little bit.
But that was the most expensive ticket by far. Yeah, most of them were around because when we pay for it, they give you.
They were all paid for, yeah. So when they hand you the ticket, you can see the prices.
So the Nationals was like $50 because no one cares about the Nationals, even though we never did see that game.
But we were able to turn our tickets back in. We were supposed to be getting a refund on those.
They said they were going to send us a check in the mail.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, and so that was like the most expensive ticket. But yeah, they were super nice. The Yankees scored all the runs in 1 inning because the Mets were up like 5-1. Then they scored like 6 in the
It started off
fifth.
hot because the second hitter for the Yankees hit a homer.
Stanton hit a homer.
And then they
I
were
hate
like
that guy.
going crazy. Well, then the bottom of the first, the leadoff hitter for the Mets,
Nimmo
hit a homer. So then it was like they were coming back at him. So yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, they were up, and then the Yankees had a big inning. And then the bottom of the eighth, they had the bases loaded, 1 out. And I think Lindor was the first batter up. And they brought in Clay Holmes. And so the Mets fans were going crazy. They all chanting, "Let's go Mets." It was super loud. And the stupid Clay Holmes struck out next 2 guys, and all the Yankees fans were happy. Because I was really rooting for the Yankees to lose. They're so easy to hate.
It was a great game. Like I said, right down to the last at bats, which kept everybody in it.
So out of the games, I think that was the most exciting atmosphere. Fenway's just cool being there.
Well, Fenway is the coolest park
Yes.
because of the history and how, just because it's a smaller park and the way it's set up with all the little nooks and crevices and the history.
I thought that crowd wasn't as good because the Red Sox were playing like doo-doo. They got loud at the end when they were coming
Plus
back.
they're playing the Rockies, and no offense to our Rockies fans on the trip, like the Lairs and stuff, but there wasn't a lot of Rocky fans there, and then Red Sox just didn't play that well, so it really distracted.
Citizens Bank was good because they came back and the crowd was loud.
Camden was cool.
Baltimore was pretty well. They had the lowest attendance, but they were pretty loud too, especially because Baltimore's been good. Mm-hmm. And then Yankee Stadium, of course, they were all annoying because they were playing, and they all chanted "Boston suck" when we were leaving. And then they play stupid "New York, New York" by Frank Sinatra. Mm-hmm. But apparently they do that after a win and a loss. They'll just play it.
Well,
and they play it on repeat.
Well, if they win, they play the version by Frank Sinatra. But then somebody said if they lose, they play a version by somebody else.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I heard somebody talking about that in the bathrooms. I think it was.
Okay. I still want to hear fucking Fenway Park. They play Dirty Water when they win. I still haven't heard it the 2 times I've been.
You could have played in the museum.
Yeah, well, that doesn't say. I wanted them to play when they won. We were there, but even if they did win, we wouldn't have been there because we left.
But yeah, where City Field is, there's like nothing around it. Most of the ballparks have like shopping or restaurant stuff. Well, City Park didn't have anything.
They kind of built it off.
Yeah,
which is probably the better thing.
So they had booked us a tour of Yale University, so we went and
I forgot about that.
Had a real nice tour guide. She was a graduate from California, and she was just spending the summer before she went back home to be a lawyer. So shout out to her. I can't remember her name, but she's real sweet. But she took us around the campus, showed us some of the history, some of the buildings, talked about the history of the buildings, and
we just saw the buildings. We didn't go inside anything.
Yeah, you could have after the tour, but we didn't.
We didn't have enough time.
They in one of the museums, she said they have the pen that Abraham Lincoln used to sign the Emancipation Proclamation. So that was cool. But so we were still going, and we saw some other people because they split us up into 2 groups. And I said, "Hey, if you see that pen, get a picture." So then I saw them later eating ice cream, and they said, "Oh, that wasn't on display." So I was like, "Ah, shit."
Well, that's good. We didn't take the time to go over there and do it.
But the city where
New
Haven is really cool.
Well, if we had more time, if I thought about it, they consider that the pizza capital of the world. We could have got a pizza there.
It is.
Because there's this
I ate enough pizza on this trip, though. Trust me.
Because what's Sally's Pizza is supposed to be really good. Yeah. And so, but yeah, I totally forgot about the Yale trip. But you could tell I didn't care about that part as much.
We did get eat at John's, which is I think wasn't it John's?
Yeah, in New York. It's called John's.
Someplace you wanted to go last year, and we didn't make it.
Yeah,
too, so.
John's of Bleecker Street. It's supposed to be really good. Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
And we basically ate on the street, what Omaha would call a turn lane. That's basically where they have a lot of outdoor seating because their places are so small. And so we just ate out there. And then like a minute after we sat down to eat, it started pouring rain. So
we're just outside eating in the rain.
So our little waiter had to run from the building outside to us. So
that was a good meal. Expected meal. But
and he was really nice. And then they had some typical New Yorkers. Oh, the most typical New Yorkers, we got to Citi Field. And you kind of walk by this part of the sidewalk, and it's kind of curved, and there's like a vehicle parked up there. Well, they had like these 2 big overweight guys, in their Yankee uniforms, sitting in lawn chairs, and they're both bald, big rings and stuff, watches, and they're smoking cigars, and they're like, "Hey, you need a ticket? We got some tickets. You want to go to the game here?" And I just started laughing. I just said, that's just, when you think of like a typical New Yorker, that's just kind of one of the images you get in your mind. And they just fed right into the stereotype, and I just had to chuckle a little bit at it.
That was a bad accent.
Well, I said earlier I didn't do accents well.
And then, after that, we went back to the hotel. And then the next day, people checked out and left. But we stayed in New York for a few extra days.
Yeah, I got up early because I knew people would be leaving. And so I wanted to make sure I got a chance to say goodbye to a lot of them. We took some photos with them and just, got a chat. Some people left really early, so we missed out on some some people. But we did start a text chain with a lot of them, and so
You started a text chain.
I did start a text chain. I had Jay make an announcement. We passed around a book, got numbers, and I put them into a text change. Well, I had to do 2 because I couldn't get enough people in one, but we got that done, and so that was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone was really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, not part. I didn't get as buddy as my dad did, but also I'm like a lot younger than most.
Well,
of them.
I know this pod's run long, and I apologize, but just I wanted to talk about the bus itself because, like I said earlier, the way you're sad is by the way you pay it off. And Nathan had told me a story that him and his mom had paid in increments, and we paid incremental too, but they ended up in the back of the bus where the bathroom is.
Some fat guy kept going over there.
And they try to emphasize that, okay, there's a bathroom if you need, but only use it if you have to. And if you do, try only to do the number 1. Well, Nathan said they had some big guy on their bus, and he kept going in there, and he kept saying, well, I can't help it. I got to go. And so they said, and there's really no place to drop that cargo. That cargo's with you for the whole trip.
No, they said there's like dump sites for.
But you have to go way out of your way.
Yeah, they're like in certain places. And he goes, well, if you want to go see everything, do everything, you're not going to want to fill up the toilet.
So I wanted to make sure that we didn't. So I ended up paying it off. But we still were only four rows from the back. But it's like an airplane. You get somewhere, and then people stand up, they had like overhead compartments. But you kept the same seats the whole trip. So if you had something with you that you didn't want to take into the game or whatever, you could leave it on the bus, which is really convenient. But so the people in the front of the bus always got off first, and then they'd go out and make their way, and then we might have a little meeting, and they said, okay, you can go do your thing. So, you had to wait. So naturally, we were on the bus a lot riding, so you just were around the people on the bus, so naturally you gravitated to talking to them more. And so you just had a chance to build more of a bond with them than the people, let's say, on the front of the bus, just because you never really were around them. I mean, and like I said, they were all super nice. But we had our friends Glenn Turner and Wayne McCombs from a couple of Okies from Oklahoma sent behind us. And we talked about them a little bit earlier. Real nice guys. So we chatted with them a lot, especially Glenn. Just a couple of real nice guys. And I said, Glenn owns a museum in Oklahoma and real good buddies. And they'd been to Cooperstown once before many years ago. And we actually hope to have Glenn on an episode, do an interview with us in one of these episodes. And one of the actually most poignant moments of the trip happened with Glenn. And so I don't want to break that down now, but we'll get into that next time. But super nice. The Weiss family was a nice little couple. They were in the very back on the other side of the bus. I mentioned Mike Eglin and his friend Jim. They were from Montana. They had another friend with him and his name's escaping me now. He was a New York fan though, so that's probably why. Real nice guy. And then the Reichelts sat right across from us, a husband and wife, and real nice. She was she liked to do needlepoint, so she did spend a lot of time doing needlepoint stuff. We talked to her a lot, and you just didn't talk about baseball a lot. You'd show pictures from trips or share pictures of your children or grandchildren or what have you. So just really nice talking with them. And then I mentioned the Van Nesses. They were the mom and dad were sitting right in front of us. There was a couple called the Timpsons. They were towards the front of the bus. We crossed paths with them a few times and chatted with them a little bit, but really didn't get to spend a lot of time with them. The Blanchard family, that was the father, the son, and the uncle, who were all really tall. And we talked with them a little bit, but a lot of times they kind of went off and kind of were sat by themselves or kind of did their own thing. So we just didn't get a lot of chance to interact with them. Then I mentioned John, the carrier, real nice guy. And then at the introductory press conference, there was a farmer from Kansas named Ron Boone, and he professed eventually to be a Royals fan. So he was basically the other Royals fan on the trip. And talked to him, about 15 minutes after that, and didn't really get a chance to see him much because he was with his other two buddies and they were off doing their own things. But one of the last days we had to stop to eat, and I was sitting there with Nathan. Well, Ron was over there by himself, so I told Nathan I was going to go over there. So I went and sat with Ron, and I made a point to talk with him, and we had a real nice conversation, about 15 or 20 minutes, and we actually just talked about life and relationships a little bit and stuff. So I really enjoyed that. And then met a couple couples who were actually related. There was the Bruce, Dave and Eve, who were from Colorado, but they were on the trip with their brother and his wife, Gordon and Leslie, who were from California, all Yankees fans. So real nice. Sorry. Nathan's giving me the wrap-up sign. Real nice people. Interacted with them a lot. Gordon actually reminded me a lot of my Uncle Benny. So we just had a good relationship, good bond. There was the Vondren family, really nice couple. Didn't get a chance to interact with them much just because of where they were sitting on the bus. I apologize. There's a few more people on the bus that I just don't recall right now, or I can't bring up their names. But just everybody was really nice, really friendly. If you went out of your way to talk to them or spend time with them, they did. Gordon and his wife Leslie were down in the hotel lobby, and there was a pizza shop. So we sat with them and ordered pizza one night and just chatted with them, real nice. And I mentioned Dave and Eve at the last night when we were coming back. They came up and talked to me and invited Nathan and I to come to, if we were ever in Colorado, to look them up and come by. So I thought that was really sweet. So great time. If you ever get a chance to do it, I'd recommend it. I mean, they do everything right. Jay, I'm sure everybody does it, but he'll get on a microphone. He'll point out points of interest. They have a soundtrack they play. It talks about the history of the city and different things.
Yeah, they have fun trivia and facts for every city in ballpark.
They'll show some videos. They play games, like you can draw in positions, or you did a square. I won $10 the last day on a square game. Just really recommend it highly. We had a great time. And like I said, the nice thing is they have lots of stuff planned, but they give you the freedom to kind of go out and do your own thing. I know we've droned on a lot, so excuse me. I'll leave it up to Nathan. Do you want to do our nugget section, or you just want to kind of cut it off now since we've kind of...
I don't have a whole lot anyways.
Yeah, I just had a few things, but...
do you have any... you can share them if you want. Just do it real quick.
Okay, my first nugget. I'll give you a second here to insert the sounder. Fire up the rocket boosters. The U.S. has been picked to host the FIFA World Cup in 25.
Did they announce that already?
Yeah, it came out. Gary Bettman, the NHL commissioner, has announced they're not going to do any more specialty jerseys because they had an issue last year with the Pride ones, and several people, because of religious beliefs, they chose not to wear them.
Oh.
So he said they're still going to he said teams will still celebrate Pride and other theme nights, including military appreciation and hockey fights cancer. They're also expected to still design and produce jerseys to be autographed and sold to raise money, but they just won't allow the players to wear them during warm-ups because it just led to a lot of uncomfortable situations and, put some of the players in a bad light. So
yeah, losers like James Reimer.
Yeah, what Nathan said. And then the last thing is, and we always do RIPs. We should have like a memoriam section. But Homer Jones was a receiver for the Giants back in the 50s or 60s. Well, he died a few weeks ago at the age 82. Well, you should know Homer Jones's name, easy for me to say, because he is credited as the first player to ever spike the ball in the end zone after scoring a touchdown. So all these crazy dances and celebrations you see can all be traced back to Homer Jones. So those guys like the Lambeau Leapers and Mile High Saluters and all those that own a debt of gratitude to Homer Jones for being the first player to ever spike a ball in the NFL after scoring a touchdown. So R.I.P. Homer. So that's basically all I have for the nugget section. I know we'd been a while since we recorded because we've been traveling. Excuse me, I got a dry throat now.
I know, you need a drink of water. You've been talking for the last 10 minutes nonstop.
I know, right? Well, you've been Googling, so.
That's because you were shouting out everybody on the trip.
Well, they were all, like I said, they were all nice people. Really enjoyed a chance to interact with them. And even the ones we didn't interact with much, we still had, talk with them a little bit here and there. And they all had something to add, and they all were rooting for their teams and wore their jerseys and their gear.
It's okay. Well, it's okay. I knew this section was coming because I saw you write down all your names before.
Well, I just wanted to make sure I got them right. And I apologize if you're listening, because a lot of them said, I handed out koozies. I had some koozies. I handed out a bunch of koozies, and a lot of them said they were going to listen. So I'm sure they're looking for this episode. So just know I appreciated getting to know you, and I enjoyed our time, and hopefully I didn't butcher any of your names, and if I did, I apologize.
Oh, you definitely did. But yeah, shout out to people. So you good? So yeah, the trip was fun.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad we did it.
yeah, just shout out to people. They were cool.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing I had was shout out to the Reds, who won 11 in a row. I think they won 12 in a row now. Mm-hmm. My man Ellie De La Cruz, the rookie, is a phenom. He's a beast. He just hit a cycle tonight, like 2 hours ago.
Yep, 15th other game.
15 hours ago because we've been recording for 16.
15th other game in the majors.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a long recap of our trip, and then I got some few NBA stuff out of the way. So that was fun. So.
Yeah, we'll try to post some pictures of the trip on Twitter. Not too crazy because I don't want to make Nathan work too hard, but we'll put a little bit out there. And Nathan's got an exciting baseball trip coming up next week. You want to tell him about that before we go?
Yeah, sure, I guess. So my mom said we're going to Indianapolis because that's the closest thing the Savannah Bananas we're going to. So we're going to go see them. And then, because we'll be near St. Louis, we're going to go down. We're going to see the Yankees and the Cardinals, which I thought would be kind of exciting going into the year, but not as exciting now because the Yankees are injured, and then the Cardinals have not been as good as I planned.
Speaking of that, Aaron Judge got injured like the day before we went to Yankee Stadium, so we didn't get to see him.
No, yeah, and they say he probably won't be back before the All-Star break. So.
And then he was out, and then the big Mets hitter,
Pete Alonso got
hurt, so we didn't see him at the game, the Mets-Yankees game. So
yeah, it kind of stinks, but. And then the only other thing is the Mets had a woman PA announcer, so shout out. That was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And she was good. They need more women PA announcers.
Oh, and just to clarify, the Savannah Bananas, if you don't know them or haven't seen anything of them, and my girlfriend Barb gave me this description she heard from somebody else. They're like basically the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. So just a real fun act. They put on a good show, not just baseball, but good time, and the real pop. You could look them up on YouTube. Weren't you and your mom watching a docu-series that they have?
My mom did. I didn't watch it. There's a docu-series on ESPN Plus about them.
Okay.
And then I think they stream a lot of their games on YouTube. You can watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they just do stupid, they'll dance and they'll do stupid shit. So it should be fun. People said it's really fun. My mom goes, hopefully we don't go and it's stupid. But I mean, they sell out every goddamn thing, and they're doing a tour now because they had shirts in Cooperstown. The last stop on their tour, they're going to play a game in Cooperstown. And do it. So obviously they're popular. So because they were like a college summer league, I believe, and then they did the banana ball stuff. They have all these weird rules they do. That was kind of extra, but it was so popular they just do that strictly now on tour. They're not a part of that summer league anymore.
Well, they must be popular enough to have a tour. So
that's what I said. And they sell out every tour. That's cool. They sell out every stadium. So gotta be pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So baseball heavy episode. Once again, hits up on all the social medias. We have 31 subscribers. We're up from 25 a little while ago. I do want to thank Nyla from her and Laura do the Ranter Banter podcast. She was one of our subscribers, so thank you to Nyla. And hit us up if you subscribe and you want a koozie. I still have some. I didn't give them all out on the baseball trip, so I'll gladly pay the postage to get it to you. So thank you.
Yeah, and then we'll plan is still every other week. We're going to try and be better about it because we were bad for a while. We couldn't do it for a month and a half, and then we had the trip. So we're going to try and keep doing it every other week. It's super late now, so I'm probably going to go to bed. I'm probably not going to record this. So just hopefully it'll be up Saturday night or Sunday morning, even though I'm busy all day Sunday too.
Yeah, our next time recording is supposed to be around the 4th of July.
Yeah, so we'll fit it. Now I usually have Sundays off. That's usually the best day. So, because every other else day is busy as hell. So,
all right, everybody, thanks for listening. We love you, and
we love you. Have a good night. Yeah, sleep tight.